Good morning once again. My name is Koketso Ratumbu. I am from the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Response Fund. In fact, where is my co-moderator? She needs to be here. Please come sit here. So I'm not alone. I'll be the moderator of the day, but I won't be doing that alone. I'll be doing that with my colleague, Simpiwe. If I could just ask the tech team just to also put on the screen the different speakers so that if you're unsure of the names, at least you can still make reference. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. On a very victorious note, I'm representing us today with this car. So Chibobo, we are in, we're still in the running. So I hope we all got some sleep though. At least try to get some sleep for today. So thank you so much. Welcome. So we are gathered today to really engage on this very important month, which is Youth Month, on the intersecting challenges of young people. And really as partners come together, put our heads together, but also as young people for us to hear from you. What do you think are the most pressing challenges? And how can we maximize our efforts and the resources that we have to have more of a comprehensive approach and response to the various issues that we have. So really the purpose of today's discussion is looking at how are we having a more of a holistic approach in engaging or at least dealing with challenges of young people. We do in the room have our co-convening partners, a seat at the table, as well as One Young World, the National AIDS Council, and TICO have been really great partners in assisting us to put this very important engagement together. But we also have our stakeholders that made time to be with us this morning. We have representation from the Department of Health. We also have representation from DSD, the Department of Social Development, as well as the Department of Basic Education. And I believe the NYDA is also in the room to engage with us further. So really, without further ado, I think I'll just very briefly, more formally speak to the objectives of today's, just so that we are clear on what we are trying to achieve for the day. But more so, we will get more formal welcoming remarks from our CEO, who also joins us and who will welcome us into the engagement and bless our proceedings. So as I've already alluded that we are today gathered to dialogue around the intersecting challenges affecting young people, including GBVF, including HIV, vulnerability, mental health, unemployment and inequality, and social well-being. The second objective is that we are here to also understand, or at least to have an awareness of how to strengthen youth-centered HIV prevention, as well as sexual and reproductive health rights interventions, including discussing if there's at all any scientific advancements, if there's such, share what the progress is there. I think we all, maybe all or some of us may be aware of the recently launched long injectable lenacapavir. I've been practicing how to pronounce it. I've been struggling for the longest time, which is, and it really adds more onto the prevention basket in terms of making sure that young people have more options. Will be hosting a global summit in Cape Town called One Young World. So this discussion is part of the build-up activities, or at least what culminates into the actual global platform. So what we hope that we are also able to do is have some tangible recommendations, tangible key discussions that we want to lift onto that global platform. So part of our engagements today is to gather some of those insights and to be able to elevate them later in November. So this is one of a few of the build-up activities that we will be having towards that particular platform. But we do have Tina in the room who will speak to us later about what this conference is all about, and if at all there are ways for us to participate, how we are able to do so. And then the last objective is really to strengthen our multi-sectoral partnerships. So we are all here because we do have an interest or a mandate to support the interests of young people. So we then need to almost think together about how to strengthen our partnerships to then adequately address these intersecting challenges. So that is formally why the objectives of why we are here. But I think without further ado, I will officially welcome our CEO, the CEO of the GBVF Response Fund, Ms. Tandine Zimane, who really will take us through the objectives or rather welcoming remarks and set the tone and the purpose of the engagement for us. Thank you so much. No, you can take it.
Thanks for setting the scene so well.
Thank you. And good morning, everybody. I moved from the top because it seemed like so far away from everybody. And rather to come to the center and just feel like I'm also part of the young people for a change. It is a privilege really to welcome you to this Youth Month engagement hosted by the GBVF Response Fund together with our partners, a seat at the table, One Young World, SANAC, TICO, the Department of Health, the Department of Social Development, the Department of Basic Education, and civil society partners. I met the Moses Mabhida Foundation just now. So as we gather during Youth Month, we honor the courage of the young people of 1976 who stood against injustice and demanded a better future. Their struggle was not simply about access to education. It was about dignity and the right to realize one's full potential. 50 years later, we are called upon to ask a critical question. What are the defining challenges facing young people today, and how do we collectively respond to them? The reality is that today's young people continue to navigate multiple and overlapping crises. South Africa's youth are confronted by high unemployment, growing mental health pressures, gender-based violence and femicide, HIV vulnerability, substance abuse, unintended pregnancies, and unequal access to economic opportunities and quality services. These challenges do not exist in isolation. They overlap, they intersect, and they reinforce one another and collectively undermine the well-being, safety, and aspirations of young people. Recent data reminds us of the urgent need to address these challenges. Statistics South Africa reports that youth unemployment for people aged 15 to 34 remains above 45%. This keeps many young people out of the economy and increases vulnerability and exclusion. The first South African National Gender-Based Violence Prevalence Study, released last year, found that more than 1 in 3 women have experienced physical abuse, and more than 1 in 4 women have experienced sexual violence. South Africa also has the largest HIV epidemic in the world. Adolescent girls and young women aged 15 to 24 account for a disproportionate number of new HIV infections. and are far more at risk than young men of the same age because of biological, social, economic, and other structural factors. Teenage pregnancy is also a very serious concern. Government data shows that tens of thousands of young girls aged between 10 to 19 give birth each year. Behind every number is a young person whose schooling, choices, and future is compromised. Behind every number, experiences of undue pressure, intimidation, abuse, and unequal power relations. When we put these facts together, the message is clear. These are not separate problems. These are connected problems, and they need connected solutions. Violence increases vulnerability to HIV, and HIV vulnerability is shaped by inequality. Unemployment limits choices. A lack of support makes young people feel alone. This is why today's conversation is so important. The COVID-19 pandemic taught us valuable lessons about resilience. It reminded us that health crises do not exist independently of social and economic realities. They expose existing inequalities and disproportionately affect those who are already vulnerable. So when we speak about resilience in the face of pandemics, we must go beyond the formal health system. Resilience means strong communities, social support, education, employment, mental health care, quality health care, safe homes, safe schools, and safe streets. All this means we cannot continue to work in a disjointed way, with each group solving a single piece of the problem. We need joined up action. Collaboration is key. This means government, civil society, development partners, academia, communities, young people themselves, and the private sector coming together to maximize impact and avoid duplication. No single institution can solve these challenges alone. The National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide gives the country a shared framework for action. Last year, GBV was classified as a national disaster, a significant development. And over the years, we have seen encouraging developments in the fight against GBV. For instance, survivor-centered services such as Tutuzela care centers, multiplying in number. We've seen court support programs. We have seen growing investment in prevention programs and community mobilization, growing collaboration between government, civil society, the private sector, and development partners. And there is growing understanding that GBVF is not only a criminal issue, but it is also a social, economic, health, and development issue requiring a whole of society response. The fund, the GBVF Response Fund, was established to mobilize resources, strengthen partnerships, and support innovative responses that contribute to ending GBVF in South Africa. Since its inception, the fund has successfully disbursed over 192 million rand to more than 200 community-based organizations across South Africa. Through these partnerships, we have been able to reach more than 1.2 million people. These are survivors receiving counseling, shelter, and legal support. These are men and boys participating in programs promoting positive masculinity and violence prevention. These are families that are supported to break cycles of violence. And importantly, a significant proportion of these 1.2 million beneficiaries are young people. They have received information, support services, sexual and reproductive health support, HIV prevention services, counseling, and opportunities to build safer futures. One area where collaboration and innovation, as mentioned by Koketso, are creating new possibilities is HIV prevention. Today, we are witnessing what many describe as one of the most significant breakthroughs. And I'm not talking about Bafana winning this morning. Significant breakthroughs in HIV prevention in decades. Lena Kapeva, which Koketso and I have both been practicing. And in fact, what we decided was that it is best to have decided has a name and a surname. It's Lena Kapeva. A 6-month, being a 6-month injection for the prevention of HIV. For vulnerable populations like adolescent girls and young women, Lena Kapeva could be absolutely transformative. Lena Kapeva offers a powerful new tool in our collective response to HIV. It represents hope, innovation, and the possibility of dramatically reducing new infections across the nation. But we all know that science alone is not enough. We must ensure equitable access, community awareness, and integration into broader prevention strategies. We must ensure that young people know about these options and can access them without stigma nor discrimination. We must also continue to strengthen awareness of and access to post-exposure prophylaxis, or PEP. For survivors of sexual violence, PEP can be life-changing. If taken within 72 hours after possible HIV exposure, it can greatly reduce the risk of infection. Improving awareness about PEP, publicizing information on where to get PEP, strengthening referral pathways, all underpinned by youth-friendly services, must remain a priority. The intersection between GBVF and HIV is undeniable. Violence increases vulnerability to HIV, while HIV vulnerability can be deepened by unequal power dynamics, poverty, and limited access to services. Addressing one without addressing the other risks leaving young people behind. That is why the GBVF Response Fund strongly believes in integrated approaches that place young people at the center of prevention, response, and recovery efforts. Today's program reflects that commitment. We are partnering with government, health, civil society, academia, youth leadership, and the private sector to explore how we can strengthen coordinated responses to GBVF, HIV, SRHR, mental health, unemployment, and inequality. We are ensuring that youth voices are elevated because meaningful solutions cannot be designed for young people without young people. Prior to my closing remarks, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all our partners who have come together to make this engagement possible. To SANAC, a seat at the table, TICO, the Department of Health, Department of Social Development, Department of Basic Education, the National Youth Development Agency, our youth representatives, civil society partners, and all stakeholders present here today. Thank you for your commitment to creating safer, healthier, and more equitable futures for young people. More importantly, I would also like to thank the young people who have joined us. Your lived experiences, your ideas, your leadership, and your aspirations are central to shaping the future we seek to build. As South Africa prepares to host the One Young World Summit later this year, this forum provides an important opportunity to elevate youth priorities and to ensure that realities facing young people inform both national and indeed global conversations. Let us therefore use today not merely as a dialogue, but as a catalyst for action. Let us maximize limited resources through meaningful collaboration, and let us recommit ourselves to building resilient systems which will respond not only to today's challenges, but also to the emerging threats of tomorrow. The youth of 1976 demanded a better future. The responsibility of delivering that future now rests on us. In 50 years, what will South Africa say about the youth of 2026? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thandi, for those encouraging remarks. I would really I'd like to ask that the tech support assist us with a video, just to close off nicely on Thandi's remarks, a video of a manifesto on GBV prevention. Over to you.
Respect is earned, they say. We are raised to be respectful, to please and thank you, to respect our elders, to respect each other. In a world full of pain and violence, respect prevents lives from being shattered. Where there is respect, human rights and dignity are lifted. It's a world where everyone you meet is a member of your family, where you know the name of every one of them, even the strangers. Their names are mother, sister, mama, daughter, gogo, grannies, sisi, and even tannies and aunties. A world with respect is a place where the warmest smiles are done in passing, where we are all free to be, where no street is ever seen as too dark, where a night out is not a risk to my life, where going to school or varsity is to get a degree, not lose my life. It's where every husband and boyfriend is a partner, not an abuser. A world with respect is where women run to their neighbors for sugar, not for help. Where a police station is a place of safety, not victimization and mockery. Where tears are cried for joy and not pain. Where children are witness to love and care, not abuse and suffering. In South Africa, Ubuntu is our first language. Why have we lost our way? Our DNA.
Thank you so much. So this is a message, part of our Respect Social Behavioral Change campaign, really amplifying the message of respect and believing in a philosophy that in a world with respect, gender-based violence would not thrive, or there would not be gender-based violence. So I thought to close off Thandi's wonderful remarks through that powerful message. I would like to acknowledge the people that are also joining us online and say that you're also welcome. Kindly engage with us. Please do leave your comments. We will interact with those as well. We move on to our next segment, where I think it's very important as we're gathered here today, there is a critical stakeholder amongst us, which is young people themselves. So being able to hear from voices of young people is quite critical. So, and maybe to encourage that we are here today in the room to interact and to engage. So please let your voices be heard. Please do share your insights and your views, because what we discussed today needs to respond to your realities, not just a perceived reality from different stakeholders in their different corners. So I would like to invite 3 young people by volunteering to reflect. We call the segment The Realities We Face, for you to reflect and share what are the key fundamental issues that you think young people need to be addressed as it relates to young people, that young people face. It could be a theme around unemployment, disabilities, LGBT and diversity challenges, educational challenges, health challenges, but please just reflect. Each of you will have about 3 to 5 minutes just to share your views. So I'm going to select 3 young people. Can I not volunteer anyone? Can I ask you to volunteer yourselves? Because I think we are here to interact. And I think the setup today is very intentional to try and bring us together to dialogue around a common table. So can we kindly raise our hands and volunteer to speak to any of the aforementioned areas? Any volunteers from our youth representatives? Okay, there's one. A gentleman has volunteered. Can we have the second volunteer, please? One from a seat. Okay. The second one has also volunteered. The last volunteer, please, by indication. A lady, please. Okay. Oh, this. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Yanda Choki. I'm from Corinthians. With regards to, I think what Mam Tandi said today, this morning, is the fact that the different issues, we cannot put them in isolation. We can't say substance abuse, we can't say gender-based violence, we can't say mental health without actually working together and trying to curb and change the status quo on that. So I think the point, I think what hit me most with the speech is the fact that young people need to be able to access these opportunities without the stigma. We might think that we are in 2026 and we are well abroad, we have this knowledge, but you'd be surprised at how young people are scared to go out and actually get assistance. And I think it starts with us making it a norm, making it, as much as gender-based is such a sensitive topic, but we should make it accessible. Let me be able to come to the next person and say, I need help. Because we put it in such a high statue that people will definitely suffer till the end. We really have to start looking at why does it really have to get to the killings before we shout about it. And I think that is a problem. We act like it's normal until something huge happens. We need to start making it part of our daily lives. Even when speaking to your kids, you understand that this is such a sensitive topic. And I think it starts with us to try and familiarize and make it like a bottle of water, so that kids actually, we are aware of these things before they get to the critical stages. And I think that engagements like this really are needed more than we know, because we like to think that we are technology-wise, we everything, but if you really get to the bottom of it, we like to say, actually we say, like you don't include yourself in people's issues. We really need to start thinking that we're not thinking that we want to get into your issues, but we need to try and change the status quo, and it starts with us. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those insights. I think a key thing that I take away from what you said is that GBV is not inevitable or social issues are not inevitable, we can jointly work towards addressing them and eradicating them. The gentleman.
Good morning. My name is Wiseman Mngobe. I'm representing a Childline. I'm from the program called Ringam Cheetah. So we were taught a lot of things there where other youth outside, I think they believe they need to hear about those things. They need to learn about those things because these programs, they are limited. They are limited in, especially where I come from, they are very limited. So I believe if there are programs that teach, especially men, because in a, what do you call this, a GPV space, a lot of men, they act out of anger because they are not taught to communicate, to express their feelings. So if this is being taught, if they teach all the youth around, especially where I'm coming from, I'm from CBD, Johannesburg CBD, there are few programs that teach those things. So I believe if there are those programs, youth will change their mindset, especially boys, young people, young youth, yes. They will change their mindset. And the other thing is employment. On employment, I believe the system doesn't teach the youth how to stand for themselves, but it teaches the youth how to work for someone. They don't teach youth how to open the business. They give you information on how to work for someone who already have business. Yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you so much. I think you raise an important point that entrepreneurial skills are also quite important in at least the skills and the capacity that we build in young people, so that we can build resilience beyond just the traditional working culture. Encourage a spirit of entrepreneurship and leadership in young people. So thank you so much. It's refreshing to hear from a young man, especially as we think about how do we also ensure positive masculinity in these spaces, in GBV prevention, in HIV prevention, but and more broadly in addressing issues of inequality. So I think it's very it's encouraging. The next hand, there was a hand. Okay, so I'll take two more hands.
Okay,
Please go ahead.
all right. Good morning, everyone. Lungile Blessing Mtembu here, born and bred from Soweto. I am in representation of a seat at a table. Thank you so much, Mama. Thank you, especially with the statement that you made that in 20 years' time, what are they going to say about the youth of 2026? What a beautiful question. I've got a big obligation now, duty, to look within the mirror, that being my mind and my heart. And the youth of 1976, as stated by Umama, said that they fought for dignity. Then dignity was then defined later on in her speech, which was resilience. And I just want to touch on one thing. And within her speech, there was a name that was said, which was called, which was access. You understand? Last week, I was supposed to go with someone from my hometown, Soweto Mfulo, and he asked me, "What is to RSVP?" It can be a joke. You can laugh about it. He didn't know what it is to RSVP. He's 33 years old. He doesn't know what RSVPing is. I'm 25. Access. He's not ignorant. He just needs spaces like this Umama said that they've reached out to over 20 communities. Access. That's what I stand for, and that's what I'm for. And I'm happy that within her speech, I could touch base, I could relate with it. Access. So, as with regards to unemployment, with regards to the natural disaster that we have, national crisis that we have regarding GBV, it has become a norm in the society to hit the next person. You understand? So through such initiatives, through such the other stakeholders that are here, it gladdens my heart that at least we're getting somewhere as a country. And my job within all of that is to push and support more for such initiatives. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you again. And just to leave everyone with just one note is that the only way forward is in me, myself, and I doing the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those reflective inputs. I think there's one more hand that now there's three more. Okay, we'll have opportunity to discuss further. So can I just take one last one, then please reserve the other comments for the next segment. Don't worry, we are here. We are here for a while. We're still gonna talk.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tinisela Chauke. I'm an economic student at UJ. So you said we must talk about the issues that is the youth we are facing. And as a young volunteer at applying with Tangles, where we it's a small business where we help young people with applications for tertiary, NSFAS, or universities. So most times when we are dealing with applications, we meet students with low marks, and they're already discouraged because you trying to encourage them, oh, you're gonna get to college, you're gonna go to the institution, but it's not easy to talk to a young person who's already has a discouraged mind to go to school. So these are the issues that we face as the youth. So the thing is, as the youth, we should stop downgrading TVET colleges, because when I was talking to this other student last time, I was like, why don't you go to a college? They were like, oh, I want to go to university. I want to go to university. I'm like, it's not like you don't have to go there straight, because I feel like TVET colleges are more good because they offer practical what is this? Practical training than universities, because I get to the lecture hall, I get to learn algebra and wara. But if I go to a networking event, I can't even talk to a person, approach you. Oh, what do I say to the person? But I feel like TVET colleges offer more practical training than universities. So as young people, don't be discouraged to go to a TVET college. If the opportunity comes, go there. As you don't necessarily have to go to an institution. You can get your diploma there and then apply for an advanced diploma at the higher institution which you want. So let's not be discouraged, because I have helped a lot of people with level ones, and some already are studying financial management at TVET colleges. So let's not be discouraged. We are the youth of tomorrow, guys. So if we see the small opportunities that come to us, but we're like, I want the bigger one. You can start with a bigger fish without trying the small one. So start small, go ahead, and then thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I think definitely there's multiple pathways to success. There is, I think, within the formal education space, there are TVET colleges, like you've indicated, vocational training centers, community and education centers, CETs, as well as universities. So there isn't only one way of being able to succeed as young people. And I think that definitely that information needs to be shared more widely, and we need to diversify how we think about different ways to create livelihood opportunities. And I think also young people themselves have pioneered new paths, like social media content creation has been an emerging career that I think has really elevated a lot of young people's lives and created newer streams of income, leveraging technology, leveraging, being able to interact and engage with promoting brands, amongst other ways that young people have found alternative ways. So I think that demonstrates the resilience of young people. So we'll move on then to the next part of our agenda, which is the panel discussions. We would want to hear from our stakeholders, our partners that are in the room. I think we've spoken to the issues more broadly and the things that need to happen. Now let's hear more, addressing that issue of access that the gentleman raised earlier. What is available for us as young people from a health perspective, from a social development perspective, from an education perspective, as well as from the, from the National Youth Development Agency, what entrepreneurial opportunities exist, etc. So I just by indication want to note whether or not all our speakers are here. We should have Ms. Tsepiso Mashabapala from the Department of Health, who is here with us. Please show, just wave, just so that everyone can see that you're here, given that it's a round table. Yes, she's right here. And then the Department of Social Development, we have Mr. Mason Peary. If you could just raise your hand where you're sitting. And then from the Department of Basic Education, we have Mr. Liko Bottoman sitting right there at the end of the table. And then from the National Youth Development Agency, we have Ms. Tembisile Mahua. And from TICO, we have Ms. Tembegazi Majozi. Are you here? Oh, very good. All right. So we'll start our discussion really with setting a bit of the scene. So I'll start with the Department of Health. Just broadly on the subject of HIV prevention, SRHR, and youth-friendly services, given that we note that South Africa continues to face high rates of HIV infections, unintended pregnancies, GBV among young people, I think some of the issues have been touched on more broadly. How is the department ensuring to strengthen integrated youth-friendly health services and responding to these interconnected challenges?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Tsepiso Mashabapala, as already alluded, and I want to respond to the issue that is raised to say what is it that we are doing. I want to say that the National Department of Health has been doing a great lot since some years back. Those who were there, they will remember that we had a Dreams program at some point, and it grew into the She Conquers program at some point. Koki was part of that. And then out of such programs, young people were engaged and young people raised their issues. And from there, it gave birth to what we call the youth zones. If you look at what I'm wearing, it's a youth zones, it's a logo of the youth zones, and they were established in different facilities. Not all health facilities have youth zones, but most health facilities do have youth zones. Why? Because young people were complaining about the services that they were receiving from the facilities, from our health facilities, and the attitudes and all that. And over and above that, the Department of Health has a partnership with the Mobicide that is called Be Wise. Be Wise is like a social web program whereby young people can engage. When you log on to the BYs, yes, you need to have data or Wi-Fi, but then in continuity, when you engage the BYs, it's for free and it's anonymous, but there's a number of professionals that do respond to young people concerning whatever issue they have. We also have what we call Mom Connect. It's been there for a while. We also have Nurse Connect. And Mom Connect helps young pregnant women to actually communicate their issues at every step. Even Nurse Connect will connect you to say, this morning I woke up, this is how I feel. So those are the interventions that have been in place so far. The only challenge is that we are realizing that the more we intervene, the more the delivery in our facilities drop to 10 years old and below. And it is worrisome, and we must also, as a community, think about that to say, how do we then correct it? Because yes, our youth zones do cater for 10 to 24-year-olds, but then still we don't know if intervention of using contraceptives can start at 9-year-old, because now it's concerning. The more we deal with a particular group, because when the She Conquers was there, we were focusing on the 14 to 24-year-olds. Now it has dropped to 10-year-olds. So if we have deliveries, like in February, we had 160 deliveries in our facilities of 10 to 14-year-olds. So you can imagine that age cohort. And in March alone, it was up to 161. So it means there is a challenge in that. It's unfortunate that our DHIS still cannot detect whether it is statutory rape or how did they become pregnant. But that is underage pregnancy, and yes, it constitutes statutory rape, because I do not think a 10-year-old boy has a sperm count that can impregnate a 10-year-old. And also the department has come up with a LEARN. LEARN is not preventing pregnancy, it's not preventing STIs. So yes, even if LEARN is there, you still have to use condoms, and you still have to go for PrEP. And we know that PrEP also has an injectable for 6 months. So it doesn't have to be a constant visitation to the facility, so they can also do PrEP for 6 months. PrEP is pre-exposure prophylaxis, and is for those who are most at the risk of gender-based violence. We know that it's for prevention of HIV, but we know that rape or sexual assault does not afford you your human right of reproductive health rights. You do not have a position to contest that. Yes, we do have sexual and reproductive health and rights, but then in a situation where you are being raped, you can't negotiate for condom use. You can't negotiate to go to the clinic to get your PrEP. And you cannot negotiate for your position to say, I don't want it or I want it. And you cannot decide whether you want a child or you don't want a child. But then we do have PrEP, we do have a PEP. PEP is post-exposure prophylaxis, whereby it can help you, like when you have already been exposed to a situation of rape or sexual assault, where you then can be treated to a various things, even for pregnancy prevention. So I hope I covered most of what was asked.
Just a very small follow-up question. What would you say is the difference between PrEP and the newly launched long-acting lenacapavir? Is there a distinct difference? Yes, the injection.
Well, LEARN is for everyone who can, but the most prioritized is adolescent and youth, and then it's also pregnant women and young women. So LEARN is also taken twice a year. It can also be taken by men. But PrEP is more targeting adults and girls and young women versus LEARN.
No. Thank you so much. We will have an opportunity for questions. So can I kindly ask you to just jot down your questions? Once all the speakers have sort of reflected on the various things, we will open up for questions, and you can direct your questions to a specific speaker. So if I may request that we follow that approach. So I think Ausepi, you mentioned a very important point around the fact that we are seeing more younger children, and I'm saying children very intentionally, because a 10-year-old is not necessarily a young person, a youth, an adolescent, right? It's a child, and according to the Children's Act, anyone who then interacts with that child sexually is in fact committing a crime. So it is very important for us to almost also reference that law. So I think I will direct my question to Mr. Liko, Bottoman from the department, because I think for me, when we talk about younger children, then it raises the important question of, are we sharing enough information? Are there enough frameworks that exist that ensures that children that are violated in that way, they have recourse, or their parents are able to access a level of recourse? I know within the department there is a curriculum, comprehensive sexuality education. I would like to hear a little bit more about that specifically. The question is, given that we know these young people that are referenced are in schools, a lot of them are in schools, and schools present a unique opportunity as well for prevention and protection for children. How is the department strengthening comprehensive sexuality education to equip learners, especially younger learners as well, with the knowledge and skills to prevent GBV, to prevent HIV, and these unintended pregnancies?
Sure. Thank you so much. I think it's important, firstly, to just mention that comprehensive sexuality education, in fact, is not a standalone subject, but it is content that is offered in life skills and life orientation as a subject. And I think it's important for us to clarify this, because we always get accused of introducing a new curriculum. And this curriculum has always been there. And the second thing that we need to clarify is that comprehensive sexuality education is different from sex education. And I think that is also important for the country to understand. And this is something that it's a point that makes us sound like a broken record almost as the Department of Basic Education. Because every time when we get challenged about comprehensive sexuality education and we're accused of over-sexualizing children and exposing children early to sexual content. But if you go into that curriculum and you read it, and there are young people who've just been out of school, they will tell you there is a very small percentage of that content that actually talks about sex. A lot of it is talking about goal setting, self-regulating, respecting others, all these things that Joseph Stand was talking about and the video that you saw was talking about. Then once in a while, somewhere towards the end, it then talks about condom use and the right to say no and all of these things. And so South Africans sometimes almost react to, public misperception about a comprehensive sexuality education without even reading the books of children. And so we've then discovered that maybe there is a missed opportunity, and I'm glad we're having this as a youth dialogue during Youth Month, because it is young people that are going to help us to dismantle all of these misconceptions that we have in our country. Because often these things are spoken about on social media platforms where young people are present and young people are not saying anything. And these people that are, placing misconstrued ideas about comprehensive sexuality education continue. And young people are not even calling them out. They're not even, we are at a point now where we actually even need to take a screenshot of a book. Because often I say to them when they start on this rant of over-sexualizing children, that please open the book, take a picture of what you're talking about and where it exists in the book, and they never come back. To show that there is no factual information that is pushing back on comprehensive sexuality education in our country. But what we're saying is that young people need to use their agency to really, really dismantle and really speak against some of these things that are being said in the public social media spaces that are taking away their right to comprehensive sexuality education and sexual and reproductive health services. I think also, it's important for us to say that long before, during the times of Love Life and I think Nafsi, Soul City and others, giving content, sexuality knowledge to young people was a nice thing to do. But when you hear Tsepiso now talking about young children who are delivering, children younger than 12, you can clearly see that now it has no longer become a nice thing to do for young people. It's a child protective strategy. We need to protect our children because no one is there to protect them, and everybody is capitalizing on the poor or lack of knowledge of these children. They expose them to these things, they exploit them sexually because they know that they have not yet been given the knowledge about sexual rights and gender rights and all of these things. And so they play in that vulnerability. This is what is happening in churches, even in homes. And so we really need to now begin to see that the line of defense for children, which they're supposed to be given by adults, by teachers, by parents and everybody, that line is gone. I mean, you hear often that a teacher is having a sexual relationship with a child, or a teacher in some school has raped this child, or a school principal. So that line of defense is gone. The only line of defense that we have left is the line of defense of actually giving knowledge and skills to this child, unfortunately. It's a terrible state of affairs for our country, but it's the reality of our lives. We're gonna have to give children as young as 8 and 9 knowledge about sexuality, gender rights, right to say no, knowing your body. Please do, what's a good touch, what's a bad touch? That's as far as we have gone, because we have not been able to appeal to the conscience of adults in this country to stop violating our children. The other piece of it that is related to this is the piece around the management and reporting of sexual abuse and harassment in schools. A child gets raped, then a meeting is called. A child gets raped, police must be called, not a meeting. And there's clear guidance for our schools to manage that. Now, the question, Koketso, is it because our teachers don't know about this protocol? Do we need the GPVF response fund to help us to do more advocacy and communication about these protocols, to set up engagement sessions with teachers and teacher unions and other school-based structures so that they understand that when a child is violated, you don't call a meeting with the perpetrator. You call police on the perpetrator. It's happening even today, Kokets. Even today, like last week in Sidbeng, they called a meeting. And I'm like, but where do you get the guidance to call a meeting? There's a protocol. We don't know about it. We've never seen it and stuff. Maybe it's a failure of the system to make it known. And maybe these are just some of the. We also have got a responsibility and a mandate of public education as the Department of Basic Education with the Department of Health. Maybe these are the things that we need to say out in the public so that these things don't stay in those documents. But we can say, I think a powerful advertorial that is on our televisions that says that when a child is raped, you don't call a meeting, you call police. The protocol for the management and reporting of sexual abuse and harassment in schools of the Department of Basic Education says that, put it out in the public domain so that everybody understands that this thing of calling meetings and people coming with goats and people coming with 2.5 to pay fines when they violate children has got to end. And I don't think that's a problem of the Department of Basic Education, really, but that's a problem that all of us as members of the public need to take up to keep our schools accountable for the things that they do for children. So I think I'd like to end it there for now. And if there's going to be a comeback, there are other issues that I need to talk to around gender equality, but also children of diverse sexual and gender identities. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those reflections. In fact, the thought that came into mind is that just a couple of days ago, I was at a consultation for developing the National Strategic Plan for teenage pregnancy. And one of the things that fundamentally came out, one of the reflections that the people had, was that it's good and well to say that a good entry point is the schools, and we need to protect young people within the school environment, and that capacitation is necessary, as you said, Liko. But what happens to the children during school holidays? Because now they are back in the community. What protection mechanisms are we ensuring that are consistent? Because at least you have a protocol to reference, Liko. What protocols are we referencing at community level to ensure that young people, children and young people are safe from sexual violence, and there's recourse and there's a way of ensuring that any violations are addressed not through negotiation but through the law that has been prescribed for us. So I think it's very important that we note that it is in fact indeed a community approach. And I think for me, as you think about cascading communication, we need to also think about how do we also leverage the most accessible and the most I'll use the word viral for lack of a better word, forms of communicating, because there is a lot of mis and disinformation that we get from platforms that are at the tip of our hands. So how do we also leverage those platforms to share the right level of information? Because, for example, if there is a chain message about things people should stop eating, you will find that on your WhatsApp circulating, you will find that on TikTok being shared and reshared by everyone and being popularized. I think the same virality of such and also in some instances even hate messaging, we need to use the same platforms to drive the social behavioral change that we want to see evident in society. I want to move the gear a little bit to DSD, because I think with all these intersecting challenges, what I can only imagine is that there's a lot of mental health challenges and psychosocial support that is then required, because where violence is present, there is layers of trauma. There could be trauma in terms of the person, the victim themselves, but also what I've come to learn is vicarious trauma that other people around you that are affected and have seen you go through the trauma in fact also experience. In fact, we have a more recent and personal experience of that vicarious trauma when one of our colleagues yesterday shared that there was proximity of violence that happened in her community, and you could see how traumatized she felt and how unsafe she felt, which means that we do need services that cater to our mental health needs. So for many young people, these experiences or these challenges overlap, whether it's sexual violence, whether it's GBV, whether it's poor health outcomes of any sort. How are we ensuring, or how is DSD strengthening, particularly accessibility to prevention where possible as well, but also psychosocial support before young people can reach crisis mode?
Sanbonan. My name is Mastin Piri. I am from the National Department of Social Development within the HIV and AIDS Chief Directorate, and I am with my colleague Opa Madume. So some of the questions will then be directed to him because he is more within the care support unit. So the last aspect of the question, I will hand over to him to deal with them. But maybe let me start by commending GBVF Fund for coordinating such a session. It's really commendable. I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to take a different approach in responding to the issues that have been raised. In the main, if I'm listening to the discussions, there is an outcry around issues of access and accessibility of young people in accessing services that we are rendering as government broadly beyond DSD. Because when you look at the response from the Department of Basic Education, for example, who happen to be our stakeholders in Department of Health, these services that we are rendering that I'm going to be talking about are services that we are rendering as a department jointly with them to deal with issues of structural drivers of HIV and AIDS, GBV, C, and so forth and so forth. But what we are getting is that young people don't know where these services are. And therefore, we are going to try and paint a picture to say, where then do you access these services? And how then can we improve as a department or as government in ensuring that these services are accessible? I am from Orange Farm. I grew up in Orange Farm. I'm a product of Love Life. So I'm going to make this as easy as possible so that you can then begin to understand that I also relate to what you are saying. I'm also from UJ. Now, let me start about the issues of gender-based violence. As a department, we've got a 24-hour command center that is operating. We call it a gender-based violence command center. It is stationed in the department to render services to young people and communities out there who are victims of gender-based violence. So you call if you are experiencing or you are witnessing somebody being violated. You call the department. On the other side of the call, you find professional trained social workers who will then take your call, provide you those counseling services, psychosocial support services, trauma, debriefing services. But most importantly, what they will then do, they will then link you with SAPS, South African Police Services, for appropriate interventions. So there is that function as we speak. We will share the contact details in as far as that is concerned. There is an outcry again around issues of children who have been molested by Abu Malum or elderly people. And as society, we are saying, we call a community meeting to address that particular issue. What is it that we are doing as a department? Once we have identified such people, and we then take them through the referral processes, through your justice system, your SAPS, and they get convicted before the court, our social workers then go and testify and give testimony. Once they are then convicted, when they come out of the prison system, to ensure that they do not work with young people ever in the country. As a department, we've got what we call a sex offender register that you can then access through the department to check whether or not somebody has been convicted or accused of violating young people in South Africa. We can also make that information available to our colleagues who are part of these discussions. Then there's the issue around the stigma, which was raised to say young people are subjected to stigma and discrimination. They don't know where to access these services. And those who do know where to access these services, they are scared. You go to our healthcare facilities, you go to our community NGOs that we are funding as a department, there is that stigma to say, if you want to access your reproductive health services, your prevention services, your condoms and so forth, you are scared because giving birth, it's a national pandemic that we are faced with. How then do we respond to this other than referring these issues to police and ensuring that the perpetrators get to be prosecuted and so forth and so forth and so forth? As a department, we've got what we call a compendium of social and behavior change programs. Now I'm going to spend a little bit of time on these programs. These programs are programs that seeks to deal with issues of creating awareness, but most importantly, raising and empowering this very young child about their rights to sexual reproductive health, but also empowering them to say, how then do they go about preventing their or protecting themselves from getting exposed to HIV and AIDS, as my colleague from DPV, Department of Basic Education, was saying. So what are these programs? We've got a program called CHOMI. CHOMI is a program that looks at the young cohorts between the age of 8 to 10 years old. So we start them at that particular age and we collaborate with the Department of Basic Education. We fund NPOs across the country in South Africa where we fund them to implement these social and behavior change programs. So they go through this program. As they migrate from CHOMI, they then migrate to what we call YOLO. YOLO simply says you only live once. So now you are having here these young people who are now at a pre-adolescent, who are starting to then experience these body changes and they want to experiment in terms of sex and sexual reproductive. They want to know their sexuality and so forth. So having laid a foundation at the CHOMI level, we then intensify our interventions to say, yes, it's okay to go through these stages. All of us went through these stages, but it is important that you prevent and you protect yourself. And should somebody want to take advantage of you, the so-called robot, this is what then you need to do. How do you go about reporting these issues? Then there is an outcry around boys and men who are said to be the perpetrators of gender-based violence, who are taking advantage of these young women, who are impregnating them. But when they are drugged, they are drugged through alcohol and substance abuse. These are the structural drivers of HIV and AIDS in our country. They then want to take advantage, including older men, the so-called blessers, who will then go to our universities, for example, and take advantage of the economic situation of young people and say, I would want to then fund your lifestyle and buy you booze, but then I would not then sleep with you using protection. I will take advantage of you. So what then do? We have a program called Boys Championing Change and Men Championing Change, where we are then simply saying to these cohorts, we want you to then become the champions of protecting our female counterparts, the young child and the female child, in ensuring that you protect them around issues of gender-based violence. You also protect them around issues of being infected with HIV. If you know your own HIV status, you then protect them. So that those are the programs that we are having. But these people that I'm talking about, the children, the boys, the men, they are not coming out of isolation. Let us be clear about that. They are belonging to a particular community, and they are also belonging to a particular family. Now, there is a question to say, what then happens to these children when they get outside the schooling environment during the schooling holidays? What interventions are there? Which programs do we then give to them? The t-shirt that I'm wearing, Kwanamanje, it's called Families Matter Program, because we appreciate the fact that as much as we intervene and deal with these young children, but when they get to the family setup, if the environment is such that the family itself does not understand that there is a need for them to talk and protect the children, it then defeats the whole purpose. So the Families Matter Program is a program then that seeks to target parents and caregivers. And I will repeat, parents, because in Hlezilana, I've got children, but there might be a caregiver who's taking care of children, but not biologically giving birth to those children. So we structure them into a 6 weeks program, these parents, where we talk to them about the importance of talking to their children about issues of sex and sexuality and how to protect themselves. But the point that I want to drive in as far as Families Matter Program is concerned is that there is chapter 6, which is specifically dedicated to deal with the issues of child sexual Oh, but help me. I'm phone suit. But chapter 6 basically deals with child sexual violence. But in that particular section, what we then do in terms of the Families Matter program is that we have went to town in ensuring that we then give a roadmap in terms of where then do you go about reporting cases of child sexual abuse in a community, as opposed to calling a community and then basically sifuna imbuzi. So we then begin to empower the community as well as the family so that we then protect the child. But as I indicate, these families, they then result within a community. And in most cases, we'll find that these communities in KZN, for example, they are more of a traditional authority. Induna, lana kuyiwa khona kukhishwa khona imbuzi and so forth and so forth. I don't know whether you follow. So we've got again a program that we call a traditional rock leadership program, which specifically targets our traditional leaders to say to them, you then need to begin to be the advocates of gender-based violence. You need to be the advocate of child sexual abuse. You need to be advocate of HIV prevention programs through the Department of Social Development, so that should somebody then come and want to negotiate through imbuzi and so forth, you then know where to refer these particular people. So at least you can already then begin to see that our programs are structured in such a way that we then deal with all these issues. But lastly, we then have what we call a community capacity enhancement, which is a CCE methodology, where we then target a broader community, where we then say to the community, we then want to engage with yourselves around issues of gender-based violence, around issues of HIV and AIDS and so forth, so that the community then begin to understand that what is it their role in ensuring that they deal with these particular issues. So that is what we are doing as a department in as far as these particular programs are concerned, and ensuring that there is access and accessibility. Where are these programs located? How do you go about getting these programs? My colleague who seated next to me is saying, for example, he's from Johannesburg. In Joburg alone, or rather in Gauteng alone, we are funding at least 7 NPOs to implement in the current financial year, to implement these programs across all the regions of Joburg. We are no longer calling them regions, we are calling them AMA corridors. So in Joburg Central, for example, there's a central corridor. We've got Tomorrow Trust, which covers region A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, as an example. And these are spread across the province. We can give that database in terms of where do you find these organizations. How much are we funding them? Each organization, we are funding them almost 1 million plus to implement these programs. And we continue on quarterly basis as a department to go and monitor to ensure that they implement these programs. And they don't just implement these programs in schools, but they implement these programs at the communities in these areas that we have given them to implement them. In KZN, as an example, we are funding about 10 organizations and so forth. But as I say, we can make that database available so that you can then begin to know where we are getting these programs. Lastly, from my side, will be the issue of over and above the partnership that we are having with the Department of Basic Education, Department of Health, and other government departments. With civil societies, I've indicated, we are partnering with the Pillar HIV sector, UNAPA and Positive Women Network. We have entered into an MOU of 5 years with them to ensure that, because as you know, even in the room, there are people who are living with HIV and AIDS, who are affiliated to these organizations. And through these organizations, which represent the aspirations of people who are living with HIV and AIDS, including those who are affected by HIV and AIDS, you might not be infected, but you are affected because somebody in your family or in your community is living with HIV and AIDS. So through these organizations, which are community-based, we then say we extend these services through them as they roll out their support group services for people living with HIV and AIDS. They then also then tap into this social and behavior change program. The key word to have been what? Social and behavior, to talk to and change the mindset of these beneficiaries that we are targeting. So we are also partnering with Harambe, to deal with the issues of, as we then begin to do community profiling to profile our beneficiaries, the issues of youth unemployment, skills development. We then refer them to Harambe to assist them with programs. We also refer them to what we call the National Development Agency. There is the National Youth Development Agency, which is your NYDA. This is a national development agency, which is an agency that falls under the social development. So what then do? We profile young people. We assist them to establish cooperatives, for example. It could be a cooperative of starting a business in recycling, as we are funding them in Orange Farm, for example. So young people will then come together, start a cooperative of recycling. Then we refer them to the NDA. NDA will then capacitate them in terms of how then do they run a business, how then do they manage resources, how then do they ensure that the services that they are rendering become sustainable. So we do that through the NDA, and then we continue to monitor them. But as we do that, in the process, we are also addressing the issue of young people being unemployed, because it will then be young people starting services on their own and projects on their own through government support, and then they then begin to empower and hire other young people within the communities. So that is in a nutshell what we are doing as a department through our partnership with NPOs that we are funding throughout the country to deal with these issues and respond to some of these issues. So as I've indicated, I said I would want to take a different approach to try and deal with the first 3 questions that came from the roundtable discussions around issues of access, around the outcry around a young man and a young boy, to say what programs are there to deal with these particular issues of youth unemployment, as well as the issues of gender-based violence and the what you call the issue of a child who then gets to be violated. Let me end there and hand over to my colleague.
Thank you so much, Mr. Piri. Can I ask that your colleague maybe come back in almost the last round, because in the interest of time, we also want to ensure that we take comments and contributions from colleagues. I'll move on, change the gear slightly, move on to the NYDA, and just ask a question around. I think we've spoken a lot. I think there's a point you touched on, Mr. Piri, on the fact that some of these vulnerabilities are economically linked. And a lot of the times why these metro mobile men, as they often call them, are able to advance any favors in exchange as well, some sort of sexual exchanges with young people, is materially driven. And a lot of the times it could be because young people may not necessarily have the right level of opportunities. In your space, what opportunities currently exist for young people, particularly young women and other vulnerable groups, to access entrepreneurship, skills development, employment support services, especially in light of the statistics shared earlier by Thandi?
Thank you very much. Sanbonan, greetings once again. I am Tembisile Mahua. I am a board member of the National Development Agency. Thank you so much for inviting us to this platform, because we are discussing GBV, we are discussing mental health issues, and we're discussing reproductive health issues as well. And in most cases, you will not find an NYDA invited to provide opportunities or to share the opportunities that are available for young people, because these issues are interconnected. And if you do not then deal with them in this manner, you will it then does not help the situation, because this is the reality that young people are facing in South Africa. So thank you so much for inviting us. And indeed, economic exclusion sits at the center of such issues. I like how the colleagues have discussed how from age 10, age 8, the issues come up and how they try to resolve those issues. I think coming from the NYDA, we also intend to address the challenges that young people in South Africa are facing. And indeed, when you look at GPV, when you look at some of the issues that they're facing economically, it's because young people need to take them up, need to be part of the economy. They need to actively participate in South Africa's economy. So what the NYDA then does in this regard is we have several programs that address different aspects of young people, whether employment, entrepreneurship, skills development, and all that you've spoken about. Perhaps first I'll speak on the skills development program. What we have is the NYS, the National Youth Service Program, which we have in partnership with the presidential the PYE, the Presidential Youth Empowerment Initiative. So what this program does, we're currently on our phase 5, where we are in where we are going to take 100,000 young people and explore them to opportunities within the community. So what we do as well is that we within this program, we ensure that young people are skilled. This is a skills development program. It's not an employment program. This is just to ensure that young people in the communities are upskilled, participate, and also receive a bit of a stipend while they're getting skilled, so that they're able to create employment for themselves, whether through entrepreneurship or be hired or attain a skill that will, of course, empower them in one way or another. So we partner with NGOs as well in this in this respect. And what we do is that we place young people in respective NGOs. This is in different sectors. We work with everyone and anyone in this direction, so that young people are exposed to not only opportunities, but are also helping their communities, because you need to be an active member of society in solving the issues that are happening in your communities. Entrepreneurship as well. What we have is the grant fund. I'm not sure if anyone here has explored the grant opportunities that the NYDA provides, but we provide grants to young people that are in business. Now, you do not have to have experience, because one challenge that the NYDA has identified, or one reason that the NYDA exists, in fact, is to ensure that young people, especially young people coming from impoverished or disadvantaged background, receive opportunities that anyone else could have received as well. Because financially, when you ask for funding from banks, they need collateral. These are things that young people do not have. Young people do not have a house that they can put up to say no if my business does not work. Young people do not have, and have not historically as well, have resources that they can put up to support their funding. So the NYDA says, we will fund you because you do not have that money. We will fund you even on an idea that might or might not work. So our funds differ in that direction. So there is the 10,000 to lower funding, where we fund perhaps just an idea that you have, that you will say, no, I've got a business. It's the first time I do a business, so therefore I just need this. It needs to take off. We find you in that direction. And what we do as well is that we give you skills. So you're going to attend a business management course, because one thing is that you can't just receive money and not know what to do with it. This has been a recurring problem with regards to businesses, where they fail not because they do not have funding, but because you do not know how to spend, how to manage, and how to use, how to take risks that make sense in a business. So we then have that program that every grant, before you receive any grant of the NYDA, even apply, you're going to attend that management course, and it is free of charge for everyone to attend. So of course, you can apply for money within the NYDA, or you can apply for equipment that will then help you with the business that you need. So whichever one, others would apply for equipment. If you want to perhaps start a toilet paper making company, or you need more equipment because it's expensive, the NYDA is able to do that. The NYDA has funded companies as well that are doing perhaps sanitary towels, and so any idea that you might have, the NYDA is able to fund you. So that is through the grant funding process. You apply online. Another opportunity we have is the bursary scheme. So we've got the Solomon Mahlangu bursary program, where we fund, of course, undergraduates that are or young people that want to pursue their studies in universities. I also want to stress, I think, the important, and this is what we do with our partnerships as well. When I entered, a young lady was speaking about TVET colleges and their power and how they can be used as a means of economic emancipation or economic empowerment for young people in South Africa. This is the trajectory that the department and that the government has taken, and this is why there's a focus when it comes to TVET colleges, so that skills development is prioritized as a country, because now we are unfortunately at a situation where even as a young graduate from university, you are sitting with your degree and you do not have a job. So what uh, so the challenge that TVETs are addressing is precisely that you can move from a TVET college and start your own business. And there's also avenues, because as you start your business, you can consult the NYDA, you can consult the Department of Small Businesses. So there's different avenues that you can then consult that can assist you, but you would have already attained the skills needed to survive and to know in that specific industry. So there is a huge support and reliance on TVET colleges in that direction, but also universities as well have started and have seen that skills development is quite a critical element in ensuring that young graduates are able to survive post-qualification, because we also do not have funds to continue with our postgraduate studies. So this is where we would also work with your UNISAs and other institutions as the NYDA to bring them to the table to say, how do we create more opportunities for young people to be able to survive post graduation. So through our partnerships, and I'm seeing and I'm listening to our colleagues here, and I say this is where we can also come in as the NYDA and work together to ensure that the reach of the work that we do is, of course, goes throughout, because the NYDA does have offices in all over South Africa. So we cater to different we cater to all young people basically. And also the NYDA is the only legislated structure in South Africa that is there to speak and work for young people and young people in skills development. What we also have seen, and these are some of the challenges that young people face even after we funded them, even after they've received assistance from the NYDA, is that in some areas you find the violence having a huge toll on businesses and young people's businesses, because in some areas you'd find that not only is it a crime where they'd come and burglarize your business, but there are protection fees that have to be paid. There's various challenges that young people are facing that need all of us to come together, because how are you as a small business going to pay a protection fee? It does not make sense, and it's going to damage it's going to destroy your business. In fact, you'll not be able to make money, you'll not be able to break through. So these are some of the challenges that we've identified, and we endeavor to then partner with relevant stakeholders to ensure that young people with the challenges they're facing, their solutions. Because as much as we can, as the NYDA, we cater to different or all issues that young people are facing, we cannot do it alone. I think I stress that fact often. But also so we have partnerships with different institutions, different private companies as well, which provide different various opportunities. There's learnership programs as well, so we would be the link between private and young people, the private sector and young people, or creating opportunities for young people, or ensuring that the private sector or different companies, in fact even government facilities or government departments, part of the NYDA's mandate is to ensure that government departments have representatives of young people. Our questions that we would then ask to a program that my colleague has just spoken about, to say we perhaps have NGOs, would say how many of those NGOs are young people, are run by young people, how many of those. So that is the mandate of the NYDA, to ensure that there's accountability as well through government departments, because we are there to champion for all young people. And as much as our budget does not allow, but there's departments, there's other avenues that have been created to ensure that young people in South Africa are catered for, and young people in South Africa have opportunities. So within the way we look at things, and as I'm thinking, I'm sitting here right now to say, there's already opportunities that have been shared. My colleague spoke about funding, NGOs funding. This means that your NGO sitting here can be funded. Your NGOs, the ones that are watching, can be funded. These are opportunities. You know that young people can reach out to, and young people can apply to. So I think opportunities are everywhere. Of course, with the serious high unemployment rate that we are facing, we then try to endeavor to say, okay, where can we fit in? Where do we? Because we do not have an issue in South Africa where young people are lazy. Young people are not lazy. When applications for any job are actually posted, they are numerous. I think even when we just the NYS applications are still open currently, but for which is our phase 5, but we had phase 4, which we had more than 100% application rate, which means we were not able to cater to the multiple of people that applied. So basically it means that perhaps if 100 people applied in the percentages, then we would only take 2%. What happens to the 98% of young people that applied? So that is the challenge that we are facing. And sometimes you'd find that young people say, but we don't know, we can't access these opportunities. But it's because we can only fund 2% of the 100% that applied. So then it's not to say there's no one that applied, but looking at it perhaps from the magnitude, it looks like we are not getting these opportunities, but unfortunately we are not able to fund everyone. And this is where we bring in our stakeholders, we bring in our partners, we bring in our departments and government to also hold them accountable in what are you doing for young people as much as we are doing what we can. Thank you. I see your mic is also. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tembisile, for that. We have about 10 minutes to wrap up this session. And I think it's evident that each of the partners is eager to share the information that's happening in their space. And I think for me, it gives us the message that these spaces are very necessary to share information, but to jointly ngesizulu bathi siphefumule, because sometimes we sit with these issues or we sit with these solutions, but we are not sharing them wide enough, or we're not sharing them in the right spaces. So for me, this is a very critical and important platform. So I'll ask almost 2 minutes concluding remarks from the different speakers, just to also allow time for engagement from the young people. So I'll start first with the Department of Health. So I think one of the other things, in fact, I thought of as Usis from the NYDA was speaking, was that maybe the evidence here is that there is something happening in different spaces, and there are investments in that are carried, or even mandates that are carried by different departments. But maybe what is missing is coordinating all of those efforts for impact, because we may not have the resources to cater to the vast of the need, but if we are able to leverage more innovatively the minimal resources that we have in a collaborative fashion, we would be able to see a sizable impact, or something that we can quantify and say, we have been able to achieve this. So maybe the missing piece as well is some sort of agreement of collaboration, whether that be an MOU, and I'm just throwing this out in the on the table, an MOU across the different departments and partners, to ensure that we are able to scale the impact of the work that we are doing. I have knowledge that there was what was called, and you'll correct me, the National Youth Development Plan, which there were very concrete recommendations or concrete interventions proposed by that plan that could not translate because of the lack of the coordination. So and this affects multiple departments and multiple partners, and it requires an integrated multi-sectoral approach. So as we think through moving forward, I hope that we can think along the lines of how best do we leverage the resources we have, and how best do we collaborate. The question to the Department of Health: if there was one partnership, and I think it speaks to the recommendation that I just mentioned now, if there was one partnership with education, with social development, with health, of course, with the private sector, that could significantly improve youth health outcomes, in your mind, what would that look like? What would that be?
Okay, I will say that there is already the existing partnership with a basic education and DSD. We have a program that is called iShip, integrated school health program, and we are working together on that, where there are school visitations, the nurses goes there, the social workers, and the schools, the basic education has to cooperate with the nurses that are visiting them. The other um, collaboration that we have is with Higher Health, because we have it was called He Aids before, now it's called Higher Health. We usually go to tertiaries of higher learning and high institutions, high learning institutions, tertiary institutions. We usually work with higher education and higher health. We engage with especially TVET colleges. Recently, like I think in last year in May, we went to Val University of Technology, where we engage with them, and then we make sure that when we leave them, they have clubs where they will work together with whatever information we have shared with them. So there is already a collaboration, and it is working very well. The only thing will be the sustenance of that collaboration, because sometimes what challenges the sustenance is you have one driven person that is holding it together, and then once that person moves, the whole program falls apart. But at the moment, we are having that kind of a collaboration, and we are believing that it's working well, because when we have those kind of engagement, we go to a particular institution or tertiary institution, and we sit there for days. We have dialogues, engagements, we have health screenings, and we have young people engaging with whatever issues they have, and that is in partnership with all key departments. And yes, gender-based violence is always a part of that, and we do have integrated health services. We do talk about healthy lifestyles and all that. So we do have existing collaborations. Maybe we need strengthening of such collaborations.
Thank you so much. I'll move on to the Department of Basic Education, DBE. I think clearly there are some efforts, or at least attempts, to bring the work together. But if, from your view, what would you say is the missing piece for us to be able to see the scale and impact of these investments? Because if the sentiments and also what is shared more widely is that there is something, collaborations do exist. How best do we bring all of these different pieces together, in your view?
Sure. I think the key levers of change that we engage in basic education are curriculum, where comprehensive sexuality education is, teacher training and development, where we train our teachers to be able to deliver this content, but to also keep them accountable for delivering this content, because sometimes they actually refuse, and it is illegal for them to refuse, just like it is illegal for health professionals to refuse termination of pregnancy. So there's that thing that we're fixing with our teachers at the moment. Then the third thing is the learning and teaching support materials, which I also think is in place, because now suddenly, since June 2025, we launched for the first time state-owned life orientation textbooks, which will then also support the delivery of the scripted lesson plans for comprehensive sexuality education. The fourth one is co-curricular activities, which are these activities that happen outside of the classroom, but which are supposed to reinforce what has been delivered in the classroom. That's where we are weakest as a system, because we only rely on what is happening in the classroom for mass scale implementation. But when it comes to co-curricular programs, it's only selected schools that actually participate in co-curricular activities, where there's, for example, your peer education, there are camps for boys, and it's not happening in all the schools. It's happening in a selected number of schools. And I think resources are needed to take those to scale, because we know that they work. The last one is on information, education and communication, IEC materials. We come from a history Koketso where we needed to print pamphlets which we then take out, we disseminate. Abantwana bethu are not reading pamphlets anymore. And so we need to get into the digital age of IEC. Where are the digital materials that you can take out to scale? Because I mean, all these things that I'm talking about, and I know that I'm talking in front of people who are converted in this room. And so they know the stuff, and I've been seeing a lot of nods because people understand it. But just walk outside of this building here, just in this street, and we talk about the things we're talking about. South Africans don't know about these things. And I think it's because the digital age has left us behind. And so we need to catch up on our communication and advocacy so that we are in the faces of people. So these two, that's where we're the weakest. But curriculum, teacher development, and learning and teaching support materials, I think we're fine. We've got an en masse operation there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. To colleagues at DSD, what is the one change that's needed to ensure that support services are accessible and are responsive to the needs of young survivors of violence, but also everything that you've mentioned earlier? Where is there a central platform where that information is accessible of the different age of the different organizations that roll out the programs that you've outlined? And I want to be slightly unfair in saying, can you please cover that in 2 minutes?
Yeah, thank you very much. I would wish I should have spoken immediately after Mr. Mastin spoken. And I think there was injustice in terms of the times for these deliberations. They are so exciting. Honestly, I don't think 3 hours is enough. Should have taken at least 5 days. This is how serious it is, honestly speaking. Maybe to just go to institutions such as an NYDA to seek for funding and other partners so that we have those 5 days. In short, we as DSD, we are participating in all levels. You can't believe we have been building community care centers. We regard them as hubs where this information is accessible, including the programs that Mr. Mastin have spoken about. And all these community care centers are owned by young people, funded by DSD, very operational. It's a state of art. Hence I'm saying this timing is not enough. I was supposed to reflect to you so that you can be able to understand. But for you to have an idea, we took the model of school because we have got offices there. We've got the counseling, as you know, that DSD, we are a custodian in terms of provision of counseling, and PSS, your other after school programs. As I concur with the sister from Department of Education, in terms of, because from school, we take it and until they go home, and we make sure that they've eaten, we make sure that they've got school uniform. And it, in fact, our programmatic intervention apply a holistic approach. When we say holistic approach, we trying to say we take care of a person from day one through SASA until you die. That's who we are. Unless otherwise, if you want to add something, Mr. P.
Yeah, no, thanks. Just quickly, maybe just to also emphasize the point that the NPOs that we are talking about that have been funded through all 9 provinces, they are youth owned. Our facilitators that are implementing our programs at the department, they are young people. So we believe in this motto to say nothing about us without us. The partnership that we are having with the Pillar HIV sector, we are funding the Pillar HIV sector. We are partnering with the Pillar HIV sector to ensure that as they begin to talk the language of social development in advancing our programs. They speak to the people who can then relate to the language that they are talking to their constituencies. Maybe just to indicate that. But we welcome the proposal that there is a need to strengthen collaboration and partnership, particularly for NYDA. We have noted that there is, as our colleagues have indicated from the Department of Basic Education and Department of Health, that there is that already partnership. We just need to strengthen that partnership and ensure that, of course, we strengthen and reach out to other NGOs that are youth funded and youth owned out there, so that we can then see how best then can we then strengthen that partnership. Thanks you.
Thank you so much for those reflections. So I think we will, I'm not sure if I've left anyone. Oh, yes. Apologies. So I think with you, because you work very closely to young people and I think you are a representative of youth issues, particularly from an empowerment perspective. If we could leverage to bring all of this together, because from the partners we hear that the interventions are there, the partnerships exist in some shape and form, they may need amplification. How can we leverage technology to ensure that we improve accessibility to these particular services, but also we improve accessibility to some of the opportunities that you've outlined earlier? And I also want to kindly implore you to keep your response to 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. And I love that question because especially with that speaks to accessibility and the digital era. I think as South Africa, we are behind. I do agree with the previous speaker, and the strategy that the NYDA has taken, we actually have the new NYDA board has taken, is that we have a rural development strategy, because sometimes when we speak of these issues, we forget that there's young people that cannot access opportunities, that cannot access internet. We forget completely about those young people, and they then do not receive the opportunities that we sitting here receive. They then are excluded. There's young people that cannot, it means they do not move forward in any way or direction because opportunities are not reaching and opportunities are not getting there. However, we have partnered with several platforms. Right now, I think we have a partnership with YOLO or YOCO, something like that. That is a digital era, and they have, I think, within June 16, given SIM cards to young people so that they're able to apply for opportunities online. But indeed, perhaps the second part of your question was speaking to how do we leverage the partnerships that we then have. I did say that part of the NYDA's mandate is to ensure that departments also respond to the plight of South Africa, which is the high unemployment rate that young people are facing, to also contribute and meaningfully contribute to changing the lives of the lives of South Africans, and particularly young South Africans. And this is what we are mandated to do as per the Act. And the issues that we are speaking about all have young people involved and all have young people at the center of it, from DSD. Some of the issues that we've encountered when we would go to young people, that some of the shelters, perhaps there's an issue of young people not having identity documents. So that automatically needs what? Home Affairs. Right. So all of these departments actually do need to work together, because without the uniformity, or without coming together, we will not get anywhere, because the issue of social development will then come in to say, but we cannot give access to a person that is not documented, because we need them on the system. Therefore, it means that young person, because the parents ran away, because whatever the issue may be, or they died and they do not have documentation. And this is an issue of many young people in South Africa. Some of them cannot access higher education because of that same issue. So all our departments and all our issues are actually interconnected, and this is what we as the NYDA always look to address, in ensuring that we partner with all of the departments. And I'm really happy to hear DSD saying that the NGOs that they have are young, are youth NGOs, and they fund youth NGOs, and even the facilitators that they have are young people, because this is the development that we want to see. This is the action that as the country have taken. We have also, as the NYDA, at the June 16 commemoration, said that we want the president to declare youth unemployment as a national crisis, because it is. This is one of the things that we feel very strongly about, because there is, unfortunately, the plight of young people or young person in South Africa is that you will reach 35 years without ever working, without ever entering the job market, even if it is through an internship. So what does that mean? Because now you're no longer a youth. Where do you go? You have no experience. So, and also speaking of experience, the barriers to opportunities continue to disfavor um, the young Black South African. And this is what the NYD and this is what institutions as the NYD aim to resolve, because you'd find perhaps in the legal sector, there was an issue where if for you to be a candidate attorney, if you want to go to the attorney route, you need to have a driver's license. Where do you get a driver's license? You just graduated. You do not have funds at home. They do not have a car. In fact, before it was you need to have a car. So that was a barrier to accessing the market. So once that barrier is removed, now you need to have a master's. So there's barriers that continue to disadvantage young people, because where are you going to get funds to pay for a postgraduate degree when you just want to live? But also other challenges that we have faced is that, especially when it comes to institutions of higher learning, the courses that are provided and the courses that young people that need jobs are doing are completely different things. And this is because that information perhaps is not given out, because you'd find a young person from a rural area coming to VITS, UJ, University of Pretoria, UP, to study a course that will not give them a job immediately after graduating. That would need you to have a job post PhD, because it is a research. You need money. Your immediate reason for going to university is that you need money. So the courses that you would then be left to apply for are courses that will frustrate you in the long run. So we need that education, and we need to ensure that institutions of higher learning play an active and better role in ensuring that young people are aware, because also education is expensive. Once you are done with your first qualification and you're not getting a job, is NSFAS going to find you for a second degree? They're not. So it is important that as you choose wisely, so that you're able to use the resources that the government has placed at your disposal, just like NSFAS, to get to the next step and actually get a job and change your life and the lives of your family, because that is the plight of the young South Africans. But moving on and just closing on, we have launched, as the NY we've launched the Panda Thursday initiative, where every Thursday young people are exposed to opportunities throughout the country. So this is where we bring in all these different departments, all the different setters, private companies, to say, these are young people, what opportunities do you have for them? How can they access? Because one of the biggest issues is access to all the opportunities. It's access to funding, it's access to innovate, to platforms that will then take your innovative idea forward and for you to succeed as a young person. We do not we are very innovative, we're very intelligent, we're very educated, but the access, the mentorship part of it is something that is lacking. So through the Panda a Thursday program, we aim to address that access question, to say young people must be able to access, and this is young people in each and every single sector. This is young people in each and every single area as well, that opportunities must be spread and must be spread to all young people across the country, not just those that can access them because they're able to come to nice buildings, but all young people that actually need them the most. So the NYDA has taken a stance that opportunities will reach the people that need them the most, and opportunities must be given to those that need them the most. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all the speakers. I will allow for at least about 10 minutes for us to at least ask questions, and I will please implore the speakers to please keep their responses brief, because we still have the rest of our agenda. And I think I would also like to beforehand negotiate just 30 extra minutes. I know we had said we are ending at 1. Can I ask that we end at 1:30, just to allow more engagements? We do still have a presentation from the National AIDS Council to expand more on Lena Kapave, access, etc., just to support inputs from earlier from the Department of Health. So they'll be responding to accessibility and what the plan can would look like to support young people's access to this new innovation. And then we then will also have an open discussion, just broadly on all the issues. So if you do have inputs that are not necessarily linked to or directed to the speakers, can I ask you to hold on to those inputs, and then we will have an open discussion where we speak more broadly. So I'll take the first round of hands, the first 5 round of hands, and can I please ask that you also keep your input very brief, to the point, in the interest of time. An indication of hands. There's 1, 2, okay, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right. I'll start on my. Oh, is it here? Okay, you can go.
Good day, everyone. Hope you guys are good. Apologies for arriving late, but I did catch Mr. Piri and Ms. Mahua speaking. My name is Joseph. I'm a young entrepreneur, and I'm involved in impact work in communities. I was in corporate for 4 years, but I decided to quit because I wanted to serve. I have a degree in public management and governance. We really wanted to contribute to our communities, but political affiliations and stuff like that were the red tape, and these are real experiences. I want to be very brief, right? I was hoping I could go to Mr. Piri and the NYDA guys, but because I'm more aligned to the NYDA, I just have a couple of questions for you. We can catch up after here as well. I have met Ms. Temsila Maua. I think we're supposed to be in Germany last year for the One Young World. I don't think she made it, I'm not sure. But I just want to emphasize that I am involved heavily in impact work, and we are collaborating with global partners. My challenge is that I hear, the way around collaborations being shared more. Very, very concerning for me, because as you understand, for the past 7 years, we've been working on how we can effectively deliver these programs that you guys are designing at the National Department of Social Development or other provincial departments. And what I really want to share, or rather maybe add, or rather take it as a question, is how can you guys actively collaborate with people that are actually doing the work on the ground? He spoke about 9 service providers, NGOs that you guys are partnering with. Perhaps we may even go a step further and say, let's audit these guys. Who are these NGOs that are partnering? Because you have us on the ground. And if I say go to social media, you will see me. You will see the work that I do in communities, in Limpopo, high level, in certain offices. You will find us. We are very much active. So I really, really get concerned when I come to these gatherings and people are speaking about collaborations and what we are doing. We do our own research. I mean, for example, we can look at the 100 in Young, 100 businesses in 100 days. It was a collaboration or initiative by the NYDA. Failed dismally. People were not held accountable. So when I hear the word accountable, I really get concerned, because we've got flashbacks in the bank of our minds there, whereby we've never been funded. I mean, I've been funded by the NYDA 50K. Thank you so much for that. I've built a business. I started as a volunteer. I've got 5 employees employed full-time in my company. My employees don't take taxis to work, right? My guys work in our own communities. We are at Tladi, Ntunyana Street. I work with an organization called Mo Africa Itlokomele. I've done so much hybrid work for them. I've helped them market their programs, reach people in the township, in the rural areas. I hear something about data, and we don't have data issues, guys. I just recruited 3,000 young people right now and I'll be doing a workshop next week. I can invite you guys to come through so that you can see exactly what we mean. We do have footprint on the ground and digitally, but are we effective in terms of delivery? Do we do checks and balances? Do you guys invite us as collaborators to say, do you guys have ideas? Yes, we design all these nice programs. They're going to add value. We implement these programs on the ground. So if you want to have intelligence as far as impact is concerned, you have to speak to the people on the ground, in schools, we even have a soccer team. So we can speak about all these social ills that we're experiencing. Young boys who just finished matric and they really have nothing to do. I wake up with them, they go play soccer Monday to Friday. They literally have nothing to do. When you speak about programs, these are the guys that we want to attract. But yeah, I just wanted to add that question. Thank you so much.
I think your question is noted. Thank you for that. Can I ask the second speaker to be succinct? But thank you for sharing the testimonies. I think it's very inspiring to hear about your business. And please pardon me, colleagues. It's not by me cutting you off. It's not by any means of saying the information you're sharing is not important. But this isn't just respecting time. Over to you.
Thank you. And is it on? Thank you so much, colleagues. Good day. And my name is Kumbuzi Lishozi from Moses Mabida Foundation. We are rendering services in communities, in schools, in police stations, working with all different groups. So since you are, especially maybe my questions will be directed to the social development and Department of Education. The first question is that if we are implementing the in schools, we are in NGO that is not doing the statutory work. So you will find that in schools, the cases that we get are not reported simply because the social, the teachers, they do not have the information in terms of reporting structure. One, they do not have, they don't know who's the social worker that is assigned for that particular school. And then number two, if they know, it's those that they know about the reporting structure. There's this form 22, which is a mandatory reporting tool. They will complain that it's lengthy and it's complicated, which takes most of their time. In that, it delays the referral process and it delays the intervention, meaning the victim or whatever, whoever the client will, in most cases, they will end up just leaving that case not being attended to, just because the information is not there. The social worker assigned to the school is not known, and the reporting form. So I'm just asking Uguti, how best can we fix that? And I'll just try and just ask because maybe I won't get another chance. So the other issue that is sitting that I have, I hear you guys are niyahlanganisa, niya-collaborator and all that, but the issues that we find down there on the field, the question that I have, there are communities without schools. I don't know if it's beyond maybe our limit or what. For example, in Camel Drift, I'll make an example. The community, they travel. The children, they travel by buses to Kalinin, which takes them as early as 6 o'clock and they come back in the afternoon around 4. So those children, most of them, they end up dropping out of school just because some of them, they're coming from a very, not even some of them, the whole community, most of them, it's informal settlement. So it's a poor background. They will end up dropping out of school, increasing the rate of GBV and femicide because they end up depending on older people for survival. So the cases you get there is mostly young people, they're being abused, they're being killed. There's this case of this young lady who died in the in police station. If you find that, follow up those cases, the lady has got a history of dropping out, dropping charges simply because she's not empowered. She doesn't know if I get this person arrested, who's gonna take care of me? So how to address that as Department of Social Development, as Department of Education, to look out for these communities without schools because they're contributing massively in the GBV and femicide. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I think it is noted, Mr. Leko. The next question, the next speaker, please. I think there was, okay.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Zusipe from the University of Johannesburg. Thank you, everyone, for the insights. They are very powerful. And Ms. Koketso, thank you for everyone with the insights. They are very powerful. And also Ms. Koketso for allowing us to voice out. I'm going to try to be short. My focus is on GBV. There is an event whereby when men go report such cases, they get mocked and are said to be sensitive, especially in police stations. I wanted to pose this question in a direct manner, but my senses came back. This is my problem. This is your problem. This is the problem for all. And it reminded me of a phrase I saw back in the years that as individuals, we tend to blame society, but we are society. So my question is, how can you, as organizations in institutions, encourage the youth, the society, the organizations, and the institutions, especially police stations, to create a collectively safe space whereby seeking help is seen as courage rather than weakness? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for keeping your question brief. Which other hand did we have? I think this. Okay.
Oh, thank you so much. I am going to start with the Department of Basic Education. We have a shortage of psychosocial support when we go to our school. You'll find that we have only one learner support agent. That learner support agent is not one herself or himself, not empowered to handle psychosocial support activities or whatever that should happen. Two, they need to handle cases which needs to be referred to social workers. Social workers that are assigned to schools are nowhere to be found. They do not exist. I think there's a backlog or there's a shortage. We have learners that are depressed because they have condition, they can't read and they cannot properly read. And mainly it is said is because of poor bargaining foundation face, whatever. But nobody has came and diagnosed them. I don't know what is the big English dyslexic tonton. We have that condition, and nobody has came and said, actually, these people may be suffering from this condition. Like basic education, our young people are suffering from gender-based violence. These topics are not there. Our teachers are burdened. Our teachers are expected to do a lot. They're expected to be teachers, mothers, social workers, and all that. Form 22, it's lengthy. When you work with your SBSTA teachers, are expected to be teachers, are expected to monitor the learner support agent, one learner support agent, 500 learners. So it's a mess. Let's just go there and fix it. To Department of Department of Health. Everything that has been mentioned is not happening. All the clinics are dysfunctional. Nurses are burdened. Youth zones dysfunctional. Are they? And if may you would, I would bluntly say this, is that nurses that are working at the youth zones are not only focusing on youth, they're expected to do a lot of work. And by the time the youth come, because they must come between two and they're exhausted, they're not helped. So it's not working. All these things that have been mentioned, Mom Connect, PrEP, Lena Kapavie, young people do not know about. I work in schools. I'm always in school doing psychosocial support and working with them. You ask a young person about HIV, they ask, you can't taking HIV. I don't want to talk about Lena Kapavie. So there's just a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We've noted your two questions in the interest of time. Sorry to cut you off.
Good
afternoon, good day, everyone. I hope you're all good. My name is Sandra Harris, and I am with the Seat at the Table. And I also work with an organization called Data Innovators, and we partner with organizations using data and insights to bring about systematic change that we want to see. Firstly, I want to appreciate the great work that is done and the great efforts. I think from all that everyone has said, we can see the effort that is put in and it is not taken loosely. We can see the investments, we can see the collaborations, and we also, as has been mentioned in the questions, that we also see the gaps, right? And it's good to speak truthfully about the gaps that are there. Now, when the question was asked about collaborations that exist and how you feel like they could be enhanced, you mentioned that they exist, but then the question is how effective are they? Right? And there is a gap there. And I wanted to just ask and understand that if we were to work at these problems at root level, whilst people are younger, and also systematic level. I loved how you said that you're not solving only for the child, but you're solving for the family and the environment they go back to. But how effective are these plans and implementation? It was said at a seat at the table, we had a youth dialogue last week, and it was said that South Africa has brilliant plans, brilliant policies, even BEE, brilliant policy, but on the ground, it's not effective. So from the plans that you have shared with us today, how do we then track and manage and measure what is happening? How do you then track and measure what is happening for the purposes of accountability and effectiveness? It would have been so great today to see the numbers, to see the organizations. The gentleman asked that which organizations are you mentioning? It would have been great to actually see it or actually have the data available where any young person can go online and see, okay, I know the school, it's in my community. Because sometimes we talk, but we don't know who are these companies that has been funded. It's always great to hear that 50,000 that has gone and then been invested. So that's the one, on track and measure. And then lastly, a quick one is that it's beautiful that it's June, it's Youth Month, and we're having a dialogue like this. But is it going to take another year where we're going to gather like this and it's June 2027? When else do such platforms allow for conversations that are going to spark change? We know that One Young World is coming in November. The whole world's eyes is going to be on South Africa. From that gathering, how can we in advance do something that's going to spark change and not be just on camera and all of that and wait for June next year? Which other platforms are there to have conversations that are going to drive change? Thank you.
Thank you so much. The last question, and then we'll hand over to our speakers to respond.
Hi, everyone. Okay. My name is Pamela Nkosi. I'm also from the Sit at the Table. I am part of a pillar called Connect Education. So my question is directed to the Department of Health. You mentioned that you have higher health programs that you run through the TVET colleges. I witnessed one of the workshops which I attended for 2 days. It was in Jimiston campus. I would like you and me to collaborate, because if we don't, we only put it on the universe, on other people to say, we need to do this. We need to be the change that we want to see in our community. There's a school that I'm currently working with. I would like your agents to come to my school and assess so that we can measure the results and we can help those students. Next year, when we meet here, we can say from June of this time, we spoke about this, we collaborated, and this is what we were able to do. So I would like to put that challenge to you to say, can we please come together and connect and inspire and engage with the students that I'm currently working with? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. To our speakers, can I also request that you keep your responses succinct and to the point? We'll start with DOH.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to respond. I think the first question was with that lady who feels that there's no youth zones and all that. I would like to correct that to say there are youth zones, and there were youth champions that were trained to mend the youth zones. And I would like to say, just like any other organization, youth champions also move. There are young people that are trained so that they give attention to young people in our facilities. But in some instances, you find that they have their career growth, and we cannot stunt them from growing. The unfortunate thing is that we have to retrain. But what happens maybe where you've been when you are saying it's the same, like the services are just attended as every other service in the facility, is whereby you find that the facility is also trained so that everybody is aligned in terms of what the youth zone is about and who's supposed to do what and how young people are supposed to be treated. So the youth champion has to conduct that workshop and a training after their training to make sure that everybody is aligned. So where you find that a normal nurse has to attend to the youth zone is to keep the youth zone going while the champion has moved on or has found another opportunity in life. And it is unfair or unjust to judge LEARN because LEARN has just been launched recently and it's only in phase 1. And for us to, and it's only now implemented in 360 facilities. So for us to come and say there's no LEARN is not working, I don't think it's fair to rise from that kind of judgment already. And also with PrEP and PEP, I do not, if you have issues, raise the real issue. Do not discard the fact that there's an effort that is being made on the ground. And what you can say is, okay, there is these challenges that we have faced as community where you are saying you are implementing PrEP. Therefore, that challenge will be addressed accordingly, instead of saying it is not working. In terms of the issue that Ma'am, you're raising, it is not us that initiate. It is Department of Higher Education that has to bring us into the collaboration. So we are not leading. We are hosted by the Department of Higher Education, but we are partners in that. So it is not us leading. They tell us we have this, and then we want Department of Health to come and collaborate with us. That is how we partner. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll move on to DBE.
So you would swear that this was a DBE in Bizo. But just quickly to then respond to the questions, but I think that's the spirit with which this dialogue has been designed so that we can have an open conversation. The shortage of psychosocial support personnel in schools is a reality. And that is why the Council for Social Service Professions is actually looking into creating frameworks that would look at specialization of social workers and auxiliary workers for the basic education sector. But that does not answer the issues that we have, because a social worker who is working in basic education cannot deal with the statutory issues that the lady was talking about. They've got to refer them to the Department of Social Development. So I think that as government, we also have a responsibility. And I think that with the advocates of the GBVF Response Fund, this is going to be one of the things that we take to Parliament to say that we do need to adjust our legislation as well, so that our legislation allows our social service professionals to deal with the statutory issues. Because when we open up the legislation, we're now suddenly opening up the capacity that we have. Because we do have social workers, but they can't do anything about it. They have to refer. So I think that's one of the things that we need to look at. Capacitation of learner support agents. I think that, when we identify capacity challenges, we need to fill the gap. And unfortunately, with the resources that we have, because you look at the resources that are placed by government, and then they are supplemented by the Global Fund, then they're supplemented by some of the civil society organizations that we work with to try and ensure that at least every school has got a learner support agent, but we're not yet even there. And correctly put, where there are learner support agents, there's maybe one person for 2,000 children. And so again, I think it's a problem that you could look at. And every time when we speak to our funding partners and we say to them that we also need to look at funding capacity, you get told that this money is only for program implementation. You can't do compensation of employees or technical capacity with this money. So our funding partners also need to get around and get over themselves. South Africa needs capacity. And so when you give us money, we want money to pay salaries as well so that we can have more people. So you can't then say to us that you've got all of these billions and all of these millions, but you can't use them to pay salaries because we need capacity like that. So these are just some of the things that we need to be stern about as a country so that even when we get donor funding, external donor funding, they understand that we will employ people with your money because we need people. And then the Form 22, I've heard that quite a lot and I've seen it myself. It is long. But my advice to people who complete that form has always been that complete what you can. There is nothing that forces you to complete every field. As long as at a bare minimum, you are able to record what you have observed with the child and what the child has given you or what the child has told you. The rest of that form can see itself, but you have completed this information, which is pertinent. What happened to the child? What did the child say? What did I observe? And by the way, it's not only teachers that can complete that form. Everyone who works at a school can actually complete that form. Maybe what we need to do also in our sector is to look at how we can support teachers, because our minister has spoken about reducing the administrative burden on teachers. And I think part of it would be that maybe we'll look at how do we reduce the burden of completing these J22 forms, Form 22, sorry, without crippling the confidentiality of the child. Because if the child reports to me as a teacher, by design, when I refer it to a learner support agent or to an administrator of the school, I've breached confidentiality for that child. Because now I would have to tell that person that this one was raped. So maybe the best thing to do to protect the identity of the child and the confidentiality of the child is to just fill in the form, but fill in what I can with the time that is available to us. And lastly, to say that the social determinants of GBV prevention and management are also a reality. They were raised there: transport, distances, schools, access, and those are social determinants that cannot be dealt with through curriculum and teacher development and all of these things that I'm talking about. These are broader than basic education, and they need to be looked at holistically, as well as the defeminization of GBV. Yeah, colleagues, at the moment we've got a problem with one city GPV. That means we're talking about women's issues, girls' issues. That ostracizes a young man and boy completely, that even when they are a victim, because GPV is so feminized, it's difficult for a young man and boy to break through and say, I also am a victim. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those inputs. We'll move on to DSD. Mr. Piri?
No, thank you so much. I think the last part of defeminization of GPV, we align ourselves to that. But we are very concerned as a department, and we take this very seriously, the issue of shortages of social workers in schools. And my submission on behalf of the department, because this is what we normally do as we go over across the country with the minister through your ICROPS and ministerial outreach programs, is that we pick up these cases and we encourage communities to say where such cases are identified. Please, we will share our contact details. Feel free to refer such cases to us at the national department so that we can then take the matter up with our local services offices and our provincial offices to ensure that such issues get to be dealt with. That's the first thing. The second issue that I would want to deal with is the issue of the database. We've already shared the database of where these NPOs are located nationally. And we then zoom into local communities. So we are simply saying is, if you can then also then submit the list of the schools that are affected, we are then able to then look and cross-reference those schools against the database where we are saying these funded NPOs that we are supposed to implement our SBC programs and other programs, are they supposed to reach out to those schools, because most definitely they're supposed to reach out to those schools. Then we then close that gap. So if you can then just give us that particular database, we will be willing to assist. The issue of effectiveness, how do we gauge our programs, whether or not they are effective? We've got what we call a pre and post evaluation form that we have developed as a department. Pre, we gauge the effectiveness or the state of understanding of a learner before, or a beneficiary before they engage or enrolled into our SBC programs. We gauge their level of understanding. Then we do the same once they have completed the sessions of YOLO, CHOMI, Families Matter, and so forth and so forth. Then there is a study that we then put together to try and evaluate the effectiveness. We can also share that particular study with colleagues if they deem it necessary. We don't have a problem in doing that. Then there is this disturbing issue around a school, I think you said somewhere in Kalinen. Again, it's the same that I would say, if you can just share that information with us so that we can then take it up with other government departments, because the right to access to education is a basic human right in terms of Chapter 2 of the Constitution. So as a department, we have a role to play there. We deal with such cases on daily basis as we go around monitoring the implementation of our programs as a department. Again, we'll be more than willing to intervene there. Lastly, there is an invitation from Seat at the Table, Connect Education Sector, to the Department of Health. We dare say, please, we are extending the invitation as social development to that visit. We also want to form part of that visit so that we can then also begin to see the work that you are doing on the ground and ensure that we then forge collaboration. And this is not only directed to sit at the table, but everybody who's sitting in this table to say, let us begin to have the conversation. Because the reality of the matter, as my colleague has indicated on the other side, reality of the matter is we cannot be everywhere. We cannot find all the NPOs. We don't know all the NPOs, but it is through such engagement that we begin to engage, that we then begin to identify and forge partnership and find areas of collaboration. We'll be more than happy to come to your organizations if you send an invitation to then take the conversation forward throughout the year. Thank you very much. But lastly,
Thank you so much.
But lastly, the last point that I want to make is then to emphasize, to say, as a department through men's sector, SANAC, such engagement are not only happening once. Just early this year, Opa, we were in KZN, the so-called youth parliament in Maritzburg. Next week, we are busy in Northwest, where we are engaging with young people in Northwest around issues that are affecting them. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we are having national youth parliaments as well as provincial youth parliaments where we engage with the young people. But lastly, we also have a designated unit within the Department of Social Development that specifically focuses on issues of young people. It is called a Youth Development Unit headed by Dr. Pell. We can also refer yourselves to that particular unit so that we can then take the conversation forward. But thank you very much for having us. We engage even outside this meeting because we are pressed for time. We remain available to engage with yourselves on the sidelines. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Lastly, the NYDA.
Thank you so much. You know, where are the young people that are being funded? Where are the organizations that the NYDA is working for? Those are the questions that you will find everywhere you go, valid questions. But I challenge you to say you are the young person that the NYDA has given a bursary to, or has given a grant to. And there are young people that will ask that question. So you asking it here does not mean the NGOs do not exist because you have been funded. At other places, they will ask, where are the people that have been funded? And I'll be sitting in a platform like this and no one can say, I have received funding from the NYDA to this amount. I want to say that just because you do not see something being done does not mean nothing is being done about it. And this is the challenge that we have observed a lot. and I think we like to bring forward as young people. I liked that young person that said, "We are the community." Once you understand and establish the grounds that the community is us, if this clinic is not working, this clinic is within my vicinity, I am the community of this clinic. Therefore, I have the right to go to the board of this clinic, to go to the board of this hospital, to demand the services. I am the community. I think that was one of the most powerful things that I took, I think, from this, and I implore all of us to take that as a challenge. You say, I am the community, and therefore I have the right to ask. Because you do have the right to ask these questions, but it is then it becomes an unfair advantage if you are saying nothing is being done about it, because there are things that the government is doing. There are interventions that have been made. Yes, we are speaking about policies that are good policies, but these policies are being implemented, and there are governance structures or people like the director there, like myself as a board member, that is there to ensure that indeed these policies are effectively put into place. Indeed, these policies reach the people, or these actions reach the people that need it the most. I like how you spoke about conversations that spark change. I want to say that the NYDA is taking that forward to say, instead of just conversations, we need action. And this is why we've then even implemented the Panda Thursday to say, we are going to take institutions, we are going to take setters, we're going to take opportunities to the young people, because it is more than just a conversation. We've moved from conversations. We want implementation. We want young people to receive the opportunities. We are done with speaking to you. We are saying, take opportunities to young people, and this is what the NYDA has done. I want to, so through the NGOs, how we find NGOs, all applications of the NYDAs are posted throughout all our social media platforms, even on our website. The NGOs that were taken go through a rigorous process for them to be accepted. I mentioned earlier on that sometimes you'd find that because of funding, and funding is an issue everywhere. You go to this department, they tell you about funding. You come to us, we speak about funding. We want money as well, because we then say no, but we cater to the whole of young people, and they do not feel the foot of the NYDA. It's like a dent at this point, because the funds we are given are too little, right? We cannot even implement some of the programs we want to implement because our funds are not enough. We have to rely on partners. We have to rely on sponsorships. And sometimes you'd want to partner with the NYDA and you want funding, but there's no money, because also we cannot just meet you and fund you today. We need to account. There's specific policies, there's PFMAs that come into effect to say, how is the money of the people being used? We do not just discuss, or we do not just do things because we want to do them. There are guidelines that are there to enable that also this money is used effectively, so that I do not use it for my friends, because I know Tina's the one that must be on that organization's list. Do you understand? I do not, and this is why it's important, I think, for us to be such a face to be faceless, because you would get people coming out to say, no, but I'm the one that has been funded. I do not know you. Then I say, okay, here's a beneficiary. It's nice to meet you. What have you then done? I want to also emphasize the fact that the NYDA provides grant. We do not provide loans. This to ensure that when you pay it back, we want you to hire young people within your communities, so that you do not pay back the money. There's no payback of money. It's not a loan. It's money that is given to you to plant into your business, into your organization, to grow. And we love hearing stories of, I have now employed 5 people. We see them a lot. Part of our monitoring and evaluation platforms, I think you also asked about the monitoring and evaluation part of it, is that we do go to some and we don't go to all of them, because they're quite a significant number. We would then be wasting money in traveling arrangements to just check out who we are funding, where the business is, how far the business is going. But for us, sometimes it is sufficient for young people from Matatiela, from KZN, from ever to say, I've been funded by the NYDA. That is sufficient. Sometimes you find an issue where perhaps a person that has been funded by the NYDA also wants to form part of the NGOs. So then you would find, and it happens, because remember, everyone is, it's open to everyone. So if you have been funded, or if you have worked with the NYDA 2 or 3 times, does that not face now or create an impression that the NYDA focuses on specific people and this is the only people that benefit from the agency? So some of the issues that are there, they're not even created by the agency, but because young people must access opportunities. I spoke of how when applications come to the NYTA, this is where you'll see that young people are not lazy, young people are not doing anything. Young people are opening businesses, young people have NGOs, young people are entrepreneurs. When you open up an application for NGOs that will work with the agency, and you will receive over 100 or 200 or even 300% of the application of the number that you need. What happens to the 98% that needs to be funded? I just want to also provide my apologies. I just also want to provide numbers of our intervention strategies.
In 1 minute, please.
In 1 minute. So I did say that we're on phase 5 of the NYS program that aims to give opportunities to 100,000 young people. This is a phase 5 project. Previously, we've funded a total of 183,056 people. Now, these are all young people across South Africa that have been part of the NYS. This is now a specific program. It's not even all programs of the NYDA. I did mention them earlier on. This is through the NYS program, which is also in partnership with the Presidential Employment Stimulus Program, so that we ensure, because this is the presidential coming in, this coming in to say, how do we ensure that young people are skilled? How do we ensure that young people have something that will take them out of the state that they're in? So I also want to provide just the last numbers, that in the last quarter, a total of 6,085 financial and non-financial enterprises opportunities were provided by the NYDA, and this is in, of course, quarter 4. So a lot of work is being done, colleagues. We are not saying it is enough. I think it can never be enough unless if we are saying we've got money. It is not enough. We are speaking about One Young World Conference that is coming to South Africa. How many young people will be able to attend that conference because there is a conference package to attend? Most of us will not attend because we do not have that money to be part of that program. We do not have the money to fund. We had a conversation with a seat at the table on how do we as the NYDA contribute perhaps to have young people, especially young people that would not have access to these opportunities, come in and attend the One Young World Conference that would expose them to a bigger platform. But the reality is we do not have money to pay for a ticket for one young person to attend the One Young World Conference, because there's a high unemployment rate in South Africa, and that money would rather be used at a different platform. That money would rather be used to fund a young person that their lives will then change. So I'm saying the numbers are people, and just because we are not seeing the people does not mean they do not exist. We are the people, we are the community, and the NYTA, and I think government structures as well that are here today, are here to ensure that the services of the government, we're not saying they're enough. Everyone is complaining of a budget, everyone is complaining of perhaps implementation or monitoring and evaluation, which is to monitor the effects that the interventions that have been made in by government actually reach the people. And this is what I think the director was speaking about right now, to say, please give us the scope, because that works also as monitoring and evaluation of the policies and of the strategies they've implemented as a department. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all the speakers, and thank you for very robust conversations and the discussion that we've been having today. I think it's quite clear that the investment is there. And unfortunately, when we have challenges and crises as grave as the ones we have, we may not be able to see the immediate impact unless we bring our resources together and we try to aim for impact. I think one of the things that I take away from the discussion that we've had is that the missing piece is coordination. And I think there was also powerful reflections on how we cannot be everywhere, but if we are able to have a shared responsibility of collaborating to measure impact, then we are therefore able to at least demonstrate results, and then be able to justify for scale. I think one of the other things that are quite important for us to also note is that for funders, one of the fundamental things that becomes a deciding factor of whether or not they fund an initiative is evidence. So if we can prove that certain interventions work through pilot programs or what is happening in the different spaces, we are then able to justify scale. So I think there are interventions. Are they enough? The answer is no. Are the resources enough? The answer is no. The other challenge that unfortunately has fallen upon our sector is that there have been some funding cuts that affect some programs directly and indirectly. One of the biggest programs that directly catered to young people, which is the Dreams program, was unfortunately overnight. It disappeared overnight because of the US funding cuts. That program catered to thousands and over time millions of young people in terms of HIV prevention, SRHR, etc. And that in itself is a strain that now the departments and other key partners need to absorb. So when we think about how do we best utilize resources we have, we need to think more innovatively about collaboration within the rands and cents that we currently have. I hope that this engagement today is not just a discussion just to commemorate Youth Month and say we've done something, but a call to action to all of us to start thinking about how do we start making these policies and these plans work for us. So one of the things that I will also do from the fund is that we will circulate, we will ask that you share the data, the reports that have been discussed today, and we circulate them with the delegates. But also, I'm putting Tina on the spot here and saying, we will also, I'll advocate through a seat at the table and One Young World that we elevate some of these recommendations that have come out of the session on the One Young World platform to ensure that young people within the South African context and in Africa and in the world widely concerns are addressed adequately, and we don't work on assumptions, like you said, my brother. We consult and we engage continuously. So thank you so much for a very enriching and engaging conversation. I know at times we may feel passionate and aggrieved and feel like nothing is happening because our immediate circumstances may prove that way, or may make us feel that way. However, there is something happening. We just need to do it better and turn those policies that are not necessarily translating into practice, lift them all the way into practice. Thank you so much. So that concludes our panel discussion. We then move on in our program to a presentation by the National AIDS Council addressing HIV prevention innovations and youth leadership. And I think one of the things that we're looking forward to hearing more about, I even saw a question online about lenacapavir and its accessibility, how it is different from other prevention tools that have existed before. So I think let's hand over to Sanek. They are joining us online. Ms. Ntabiseng Mokgwe will take us through a short presentation, which we will also take a few questions as we move closer to closing our session. Over to you, Ntabiseng. Pardon me? Okay. So while we wait for Ms. Ntabiseng Mokgwe to be connected, I almost want to check in if there's any. I'm seeing there's some hands, any burning reflections, but really briefly, because I want us to jump into that discussion and then have more of an open session. So we can already start engaging more broadly if there's any burning inputs. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm representing a seat at the table, but I also am employed by an organization called Ukoika. And Ukoika has been around for like 5 months. I set it up. I abdicated my 28-year career in financial services and from the entire ecosystem of financial services. And I think, to the point that was made earlier, at some point, somebody has to make the sacrifice. And put their skin in the game. I've not drawn a salary in the past 5 months because I'm now making the decision to put my skin in the game because at the tender age of 49, I got my first set of twins. I'm now 50. So I want the legacy I want to leave behind for my children compelled me to make this decision to say, what am I going to be doing and what are my children going to remember me for? So what I think was mentioned, I commend everybody that has spoken around the table and every effort that has been made to move our society and our social economic ills forward. But what we have identified as at Ukoyiga, based on my 28 years in corporate and financial services regulation in particular, as it relates to young people, they call us the old youth. So I think I'm one of the privileged Black female individuals in the sense that I was exposed to these things. I got access, I was capacitated, and now I'm trying to pay it forward. And right now I'm trying to navigate, how do I do that? So what you mentioned, what the NYDA mentioned as an example, and I'm also listening to the young people around the table. What they are saying is and what I've also seen on social media, there's a lot of ideas. We're not short of ideas in this country, especially young people. Young people are very creative, but the gap we've identified at Ukoyiga is how do we institutionalize these startups, these venture capitals, these NGOs, these NPOs, to make them sustainable so that they don't fail, but also employ other people. So that's the gap we're trying to close. So with our governance, risk, compliance, execution, strategy, and social impact service offering, we are trying to close that divide. And I understand and I get it. Obviously, young people cannot afford my fees. So what we are trying to do now actively is to find partners like yourselves at NYDA to say, can we engage? Because it's one thing to talk about skills development or these young people are going for training. What we've found is it's a bold assumption to make. It took me 28 years to know what I know. So it's a bold assumption to say, go for 2 days training and then go and implement. No, we need to be deliberate. So hence I've had to leave my comfortable, cushy corporate job so I can be on the ground to say, how do we fractionalize our services? So when for example, I tested this. Because I had to test my own model, right? So I took a client at risk who doesn't pay me, but we've been trying to get her institutionalized for the last 5 months. We had our strategy session in March. It was only 2 or 3 days ago that she was even able to apply for funding because there were so many gaps that we identified. Now she's sitting, and I'm sorry that I couldn't bring her because I wanted her to testify and to encourage young people. And she's my age, by the way. So this is the issue of access is one thing, but the issue of capacity building and being deliberate about it is another for us to see the needle moving forward. And someone needs to invest time.
Thank you so
Sorry,
much. Thank you so much.
I'm passionate about this.
100%. And we will have a little bit of time to expand more on broader issues. Over to Ms. Ntabiseng Mokgwa from SANEC to take us through the presentation.
Good day. Are you able to hear me, Koketo, from your end?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everyone. So I'm going to take you through a couple of slides that talk to the innovations. So let me just wait for my slides to come through. But as they are coming through, I would also like to just also concur with the other speakers that also appreciated this session. We really do appreciate from GBV Fund this opportunity to actually engage and make sure that young people are at the center of our engagements. So I'm trying to access my slides, colleagues. Apologies about that. I'm not sure if you are able to see the slide sockets from your end.
Yes, now we can.
Okay, yes, I can see them as well. So I'm going to take you through, as I mentioned, HIV prevention, innovation, and youth leadership. If we can go to the next slide. So I'm just going to take you through a couple of slides, colleagues. So I'm going to start off with what we are doing at SANEC. So SANEC's role in coordinating in the adolescents and young people response. So basically what we're doing at SANEC, our main core is actually to make sure that there is coordination when we are talking about the HIV response. So we are not only looking at HIV, but we are looking at HIV STIs and TB as well, and also the other related areas, talking about gender-based violence, also unintended or teenage pregnancies as well. So we do coordinate multiple structures that are talking to the HIV response in general. So we are talking about government departments, the ones that are there in the room. We are working very closely with them. We are also making sure that we also coordinate. We work also with a higher education as well, as it was also mentioned with the other speakers that have also talked before. We also work with civil society. We work with private sector as well, implementing partners as well, just to make sure that there is coordination when we are talking about the HIV response. Next slide, please. So this slide is just showing us the multi-sectoral partnership supporting the national strategic plan that we have as a country, and the outcomes for young people in general. So it's talking about the HYW programming coordination. And I know that maybe someone might ask to say, why specifically the adolescent girls and young women? So when we are offering our programs and the services that are being done, we are not only coordinating specifically for only adolescent girls and young women, but we also keep it at the back of our minds to say when we are talking about HIV, adolescent girls and young women, according to what we have seen in history, what the data is saying as well, they are the ones that are more vulnerable as we are comparing them to their the boys that are actually within their age groups. But we make sure that the services, the programs that are being offered, they also accommodate, or they include, not accommodate per se, but they include the adolescent boys and young men that are within that age group, so that we also don't leave them behind. And then we also have youth well-being and mental health. So we all know that we have to make sure that the overall well-being of every individual is taken into consideration when we are talking about this. So we also make sure that that is also part of the package. Education sector engagement as well. There is no way you can talk about young people and leave out the education sector, because we know that that's where we actually get young people in numbers. So you will get them there because that's where they go to school, whether it's in basic education or in higher education. So that's why education sector is always at the center of everything that we are doing. And then also the other one is sexual and reproductive health and rights. So this one as well is also multi-sectoral. It's not only under the health sector, but it goes across, because like I mentioned, the setting of where young people are, and also there are also social and structural issues that are also involved when you're talking about young people. So you also have to make sure that you go to all those different areas. Pregnant and parenting adolescent and young mothers, we also make sure that they are also involved as well. So in as much as we preach prevention most of the time, it doesn't mean that the ones that are already affected, they are now outside of the people that we are actually considering as priority. So also make sure that we support them even going forward. Disability inclusion, very important as well. We also do have young people that are disabled. They should also be a priority as well. Community and civil society coordination. These young people, they don't live in isolation. They are from within communities. So those communities should be a part of the package services that we are doing. Young people living with HIV as well, just like the pregnancy one. If the young person is already infected with HIV, we don't close them out. We make sure that they access the services, they are taken within the care services. And then the NSP accountability and the technical guidance as well as learning. So I'm going to go through the other slides as well. So this one was just giving us a picture of the multi-sectoral partnership. If you can go to the next slide, please. So this one talks to the youth leadership at the center of the response. So what I can say is it's very important for us to make sure that young people are at the center of everything that we are doing. We are from an era where everything was decided on behalf of young people. We'll come up with programs that are readily available, but they didn't have young people's inputs to say what should be in those, how they should be structured and all those. So now we make sure that young people are at the center and we make sure that they are capacitated to be leaders in matters that are actually talking about them. Next slide, please. And the HIV prevention innovation. So here we are talking about the HIV, because we know that we have been having HIV. I'll talk specifically to our country for a long time. So there's a lot that has actually happened. There's a lot of developments that have actually happened throughout these years. And with regard to antiretroviral treatment, antiretroviral prevention. So we would really want to know what is currently happening, what are the innovations, and what are we saying about the ones that have been there prior to what we are seeing now. So we are having combination prevention because prevention, we're not only talking about just one stream. There is a combination that we should actually look at the choice that is actually out there, and then access the service setting as well. It's very important to say where the services that we are talking about, this combination prevention, where do we access this? And then the prevention precision as well, and then also the youth and community led monitoring as well, to say how do we make sure that young people and the community are also leading when it comes to this implementation and also the response as well. Next slide, please. So on this slide is just going in detail on the combination prevention to say, what are we talking about when you are saying combination prevention? So HIV is not a health matter only. It cuts across multiple areas. That's why we talk about combination prevention, to say Department of Health alone cannot be the only one that actually deals with with HIV. So that's why we talk about the biomedical interventions that are mostly within the health sector. There's also behavioral intervention and also social and structural interventions that are there as well, that are also equally important, and we should make sure that we actually balance off all these streams to make sure that people are actually covered in totality. We are not only looking at the health spectrum or the biomedical interventions. So the biomedical interventions, we know most of them, they have been there for a long time. We are aware of them. We talk about condoms, HIV testing services that are there. The PrEP, the oral one, has been there. The DP ring as well has been there just for a few years as compared to the oral. And then also now we're talking about lenacapavir as well, which is a new one. We are going to go into more detail about it. We also have post-exposure prophylaxis. After you have been exposed, what can you actually do? And I had the CEO, as we're starting, also elaborating specifically on these biomedical interventions that are there. Also the antiretroviral as well, because we are talking now about U equals to U, which is undetectable is equals to untransmittable, meaning that if you're HIV positive, if you are on antiretroviral treatment and you are consistent, you're taking your medication the way you are supposed to be taking it, and you are virally suppressed, it means that you cannot transmit that HIV to the next person. So it's also one form of prevention as well, because you are preventing for other people to actually acquire this from yourself if you are already infected. Also, VMMC, very important as well. It's also one prevention method that is also still very much active. When we look at the health spectrum, they still also very much advocate for that. So the behavioral one as well, I'm not going to dwell too much into it because they've talked about CSE. Mr. Bottoman has talked in length about that: prevention literacy, risk reduction counseling, peer-led education, and others, just to make sure that we don't just talk about all this biomedical, but we also support it as well with the education, so that our young people are also empowered with knowledge around these things. Social and structural interventions as well. I'm also not going to dwell too much on it because I think with NYDA, they have touched on it, and also DSC as well, just to show that there is also additional support that is needed for a young person to be fully supported and covered. The next slide, please. So on this slide, I'm going to talk about the lenacapavir, to say, what is it? What is this len that everyone is talking about? So it's a long-acting antiretroviral medication used, injection actually, that is used for HIV prevention as pre-exposure prophylaxis. I saw one of the question in the comments saying, isn't len a type of PrEP? So that is very correct. It is a pre-exposure prophylaxis, meaning that before you are exposed to HIV, then you can actually be on this. So currently in country, we are having 3 types of PrEP. We are having the oral one that has actually been out there, offered in different health sectors. And then we also have the DEPI ring. I know that that one is actually not that much talked about, but it is there as well. So it's a vaginal ring that is also inserted vaginally. So it has also been in country for, I think, a couple of years now, but it's shorter than the oral PrEP. So now we are having the lenacapavir, which is the third type that we are having, which is an injectable. So it is administered as a subcutaneous injection once every 6 months. LEN provides sustained protection against HIV acquisition, offering an alternative to daily oral PrEP. So it's an alternative. So it protects you from HIV just like oral PrEP would. But we have also noted the comments or the issues that people would actually raise to say, taking a treatment or taking this pill on a daily basis, it's not user-friendly for everyone. Other people, they don't have an issue with that, just like even with contraceptives. Others, they don't have issues with taking daily a pill, but others would forget and other things as well. So lenacapavir is actually an alternative to say, if you are not able to manage with this one, this is an alternative which you can actually take twice a year, meaning that if you took it January, you'll also take it mid-year, and then just like that, and then you'll take it the following year, which it cuts out a whole lot of things that a lot of young people, I'll stick to young people, would actually complain about with the oral PrEP. So we are hoping that they will also add this to their choice, because we are having multiple prevention methods that are out there. So this is adding to the choice that we are having in country. Next slide, please. So this one is just showing us an algorithm to say who qualifies for this len. Can I just go to the facility and say, can I get this PrEP? And is it readily available in all facilities? So the answer will be not everyone is eligible for PrEP, and also not all health facilities are having LEN readily available in their facilities. So there are selected facilities in country. So there has been an exercise that was done by the Department of Health to say that we are going to roll out this PrEP, but we're going to start with manageable facilities, and then we will then roll it out from there after we have actually started with these few facilities. So it is very important for young people that are out there to actually get this information to say which facilities are closer to me that I can actually access this. And also, when you get to the health facility, there are actually other things that they are actually going to be looking at. So not everyone will be eligible to say you are a young person, then you are eligible. So the first very important step is to check the HIV status, because not everyone will actually get. You will have to be HIV negative for you to actually qualify to say, okay, you are HIV negative, then you qualify for this. And also, even after that, even if you are HIV negative, there are still further assessments that are going to be done to see if you are eligible to actually can have LEN. So those assessments will be done at the health facility, but we are also giving you a choice to say there are other prevention methods that are there. So which one will be better suited for you to actually get? And then you do a choice to say this one will be a best preferred for me to actually access, or to say that I'm making a choice of taking LEN. So I'm not going to go through all those, but just to make sure that we understand that not everyone will actually be eligible for this. There are those health assessments that are going to be done to check if you are actually eligible to actually get PrEP, and also to emphasize that there are other methods that you can actually choose from. So LEN is not the only preventative method that is out there. Next slide, please. So this one as well, it shows just a summary of those eligibility as well. HIV negative, the weight as well. There is a certain weight that they also check as well. Signs of acute HIV infection as well, in case maybe it's not showing as yet to say you are HIV positive. So the window period, and all those other things that they will actually check. So this one is just showing you, just to have an idea of all those things that they will actually do prior to the initiation of their LEN. Next slide, please. The other important element that I also wanted to touch on is the switching, because there are young people that are already on oral PrEP that would like to switch to LEN, to say, is it possible? How possible is it? And also the ones that will be on LEN and want to switch back to their oral PrEP. So it is possible to do those switchings as well. So I'm not going to go into detail to say what you do and all those things. But the most important thing that we should also take note of is that PrEP in general, whether it's LEN, whether it's oral PrEP, whether it's Depiring, it only prevents us from HIV infection, but not pregnancy and not other STIs that can be out there. So we have to be very cautious and make sure that we pair it up, even though you have a injected PrEP LEN, but you make sure that you are protected even from other things like STIs and planned pregnancy. If you can go to the next slide, please. The next one, this one I talked to. Yes. So this is just to sum it up to say that the settings of services. So it's very important for the government departments and also partners, other partners that are offering services, to make sure that they access young people where they are. So we talked about basic education, which I'm not going to talk too much into, but young people, most of them, they are there. And then also higher education as well, community settings as well. Young people might not go to health facilities because they are not sick, they don't feel the need to. But some of these are prevention methods, not necessarily to say someone is sick. So how do we make sure that we go to those communities to tell young people about these things so that they are able to get the knowledge and access those services? Digital platforms as well. I think one speaker talked about this to say that young people no longer want these pamphlets and all those. So how do we make sure that we meet them where they are? Next slide. I'm almost done. So the other one is on the precision prevention as well. So it's very important to make sure that as a country, we also dwell on where there is a need as well. So we advocate in a way for the other young people that we see according to data. And when we are looking at everything else, they are actually the ones that are at higher risk. So we have to prioritize. So we would often prioritize AGYW, the adolescent girls and young women, because of what we are seeing, the trends, the ABYMs as well, young key populations, high HIV burden districts. That's why you'll see that all these services, they are not readily available everywhere. So at times we'll have to prioritize to say, where do we start? And we look at the burden of HIV to say, maybe we should look start at these particular areas, looking at that. The geographic hotspots as well, just to make sure that we reach those young people that actually need this. So there are other populations that are not mentioned here as well, like young people with disabilities and others as well, just to make sure that everyone is actually prioritized. Next slide. So the community-led and youth-led monitoring, very important as well. All our services and all these programs that are being run, we often make sure that young people are actually engaged to have a say in whatever services that are being done. So the monitoring service quality, identifying barriers to access, providing real-time feedback, strengthening accountability as well, informing program improvements. And the other important element is that we make sure that all these things are done in line and together with the government departments, because when funding ends, as Koketo has mentioned, to say some of the funding unfortunately came to an end, and young people were left stranded. Young people were left confused because they are used to this mobile truck coming and offering them service in where they are. So what we are doing is to make sure that we work very closely with government departments. So there's nothing that talks to young people, learners, that we don't involve Department of Basic Education in. There's nothing that talks to community health that we don't involve health facilities in, so that even when those funded organizations no longer have funds, but we know that government departments know about this, they are moving together with us, and they are able to actually sustain everything that is happening. Next slide. So this is my last slide. So it's just to say that South Africa's HIV response is strongest when young people are not merely reached by the programs. They are not just beneficiaries of the programs, but they are empowered to lead them. So they are at the center, they are core creating whatever that we are doing. So we are working together with young people through everything that we are doing. So that's what we are striving to do as SANAC, to make sure that young people are at the center of everything that we are doing. And we are working very closely with the government departments. We do engagements with young people to make sure that they are part, their voices are heard through everything that we are doing, whether it's program implementation and everything else that is happening. So I think that is my last slide, Koketo. Back to you. I hope I didn't take much time. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Ntabi Singh from SANAC. So I made a promise that I'm now breaking because I only asked you for 30 more minutes, but I think evidently the discussions today have been quite robust, and I felt that it would be completely an injustice on a day dedicated for young people for me to be too strict as the moderator of the session. So I did try to be a bit more lenient, and forgive me that the implication is time thereof. In the interest of time, I will ask that we just rewig our agenda slightly. I will ask that instead of taking inputs at this point, we rather invite Tina from One Young World to give us a snapshot of what this One Young World conference is about. Tina is actually from A Seat at the Table, but supporting this initiative that is upcoming now in November. So she'll paint a clearer picture for us. And if there are avenues to participate, even if it's not at the conference itself, how can we get involved and how can we participate? Over to you, Tina. I know that she has a video that she wants to open her remarks through. So I'll ask the tech support to kindly play the video.
It all began with a conversation, a simple idea. What if more young people had access, not just to opportunity, but to rooms, to leaders, to decision-making tables? From a mentorship between Triforsa Ramano and Mutate Siwelo, a vision took shape, a vision to move beyond one-on-one impact to something bigger, something lasting. That vision was brought to life by a founding collective made up of Triforsa Ramano, Mutate Siwelo, Vuyelwa Diniso, and Ntabiseng Mamabulo Ndlandla. Blending strategy, storytelling, and governance, they built more than an initiative. They built a strong foundation. A seat at the table is more than an initiative. It is a movement, connecting young people, especially women, to leadership, to opportunity, and to each other. Through its two-pronged Connect strategy, the movement translates vision into action through Connect partnerships and programs such as Connect Education, opening doors through bursaries, career guidance, and student chapters. Connect Board Mastery is preparing young leaders for governance, strategy, and decision-making. Connect Sustainability is shaping change-makers, tackling society's greatest challenges. Connect Community Impact is strengthening communities through meaningful action. Connect Leadership, cultivating bold voices, collaboration, and inclusive leadership. And now, Connect Youth in Dialogue, a platform where young voices shape policy, influence systems, and drive change. From intimate conversations to transformative experiences, young leaders have stepped into rooms they once only imagined, finding their voice, their purpose, and their place.
One Young World 2026, Cape Town, South Africa.
What an honor it is to me to welcome over 2,000 of the world's brightest young leaders back to South Africa for the One Young World Summit 2026.
I'm here representing President Cyril Ramaphosa tonight. After 15 extraordinary summits all around the world, I'm so happy to be bringing it home to Africa and to Cape Town. The One Young World organization is proud to announce that we'll be funding lifetime membership of the One Young World global community, including attendance at the Summit 2026 Cape Town for a record number of young South Africans.
2026 marks 50 years since the Soweto Youth Uprising, a powerful legacy that reminds us that young people have always been at the forefront of change.
Just think of some of those kids who decided they'd had enough and stood up against the injustice of apartheid.
Madiba's legacy can only be upheld and perpetuated by the youth.
South Africa is a nation built on resilience and unity. We are stronger together. That makes us the perfect host for One Young World in 2026.
The summit will be held across multiple iconic venues. Get ready to experience Cape Town's incredible landscapes, diverse cultures, and warm, welcoming people, all united by the spirit of Ubuntu, our shared humanity.
To the young leaders of the world, we welcome you with open arms and open hearts. 2026, here we come. We'll see you in Cape Town.
Molweni, Sawona.
How's it?
Thank you so much. I am Tinam Gilana, and I am the head of global partnership at Seat at the Table. Firstly, before I start, I'd really like to thank the GBFV Fund. I approached them, I think 2 months ago, and I said, look, we have this partnership with One Young World. Would you be on board to help us? And of course, the GBFV Fund responded, and they brought their partners with them, Chico, Sanek, and the different respecters from the different departments, right? And I'd really like to show my gratitude, Koketso. I appreciate that. But because I have 5 minutes now, I think my videos took my other 5 minutes. So just for me to tell you more about One Young World, One Young World is a platform that connects young global leaders, right? And what happens with One Young World, it's a 4-day summit. Each year they choose a country that would host the summit. So South Africa will be hosting One Young World in Cape Town this year. So the question that I always get asked is, how do I then get access to this summit? All right. So the first thing is trying to apply for scholarships. So what I'll do, I'll share Koketso and the team, the current scholarships that are open. But what they want young positive change makers, people that are between the ages of 18 and 35 as ambassadors. And then the other second opportunity, if you don't make it there, you can go in as a volunteer, right? As a volunteer, you then put your hand up and say, look, I am available and I'm willing to help on the day, right? And it's not a job that you need to take lightly, because I'm also part of the committee, so I'm also volunteering. So because it gives you access to mentorship, it gives you access to industry experts, because yes, you can tick the box to say, okay, I don't meet the change maker criteria, but I'm young and I'm willing to work during the summit. That's enough. And you never know who you meet at the summit that would open the doors. And then the other option is for you to host a workshop, right? So with hosting a workshop, you need to apply. I'll also share the scholarships available, the volunteering link, and hosting a workshop. So in terms of hosting a workshop, you then put your hand up to say, look, I'm an industry expert here and here, and I'd like to host your global delegates. And what they'll do, there'll be workshops throughout the summit, then we'll host their workshop. So one of the things that we're looking at with the GBFV Fund is to host a similar dialogue, right? At the summit, and we open all the partners that are here today. If they can make it and want to collaborate, let's make it happen. Let's have more of these sessions at a global, on global platforms. And then on One Young World. So once you've gotten in as a change maker, once you've applied, you get a lifelong membership at the One Young World. So meaning as they announce where in the countries that they're going to, you get the opportunity of being part of the delegates there. But of course, funding is always a problem. So we at Seat at the Table have committed to sending 20 people to Cape Town this year. Last year, we sent 8 people to Germany. So we will also have an application going on. Please look at our social networks. I'll share all the information with Koketo to share with all the delegates here. And then what will happen is that we'll have an application process, and there are certain key themes that we look at, like leadership, sustainability, AI, and advanced governance, because the 20 that we select, the main aim is for us to create legacy projects. Because what are we saying, that the 20 that we select, it's not a once-off opportunity. After that, we need to deliberate and say, what projects are we going to create after that? So we want people that are intentional, people that will build with us, because we don't want it to end here. And I think the main game, the aim is for Seat at the Table to also be a global, to compete at some point with global institutions, not to be South African based. Yes, we have hubs in different countries, but we want to grow our own landscape. And I invite anyone, if you meet the criteria, please do apply, follow Seat at the Table, the opportunities are there. And I think just my brother who was, oh, yes. So just the brother on the side, I don't know if he's still there. Yes. Can you please stand up? I'd like to challenge you, right? Last week, Seat at the Table had a CYID. And one of the key projects that came about is for us to create an entrepreneurship pillar. And the person that you need to align, I'm a connector, I always go, the person that you need to align with is Simpiwe, right? We would like to see if there are a lot of projects that are coming, because you are saying you're on the ground. We need people on the ground. Please connect with us, let's grow. Thank you. And then lastly, we do have a few people in the room that also are One Young World ambassadors. And we have Kanya. He'll just give us 2 minutes just to give us his experience on One Young World.
Geez, hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Ukanya Mkoto, and I am a data analyst. And I work within the financial sector. So I've been a One Young World ambassador since 2017. I attended the One Young World Summit that was in Bogota, Colombia. And what a phenomenal experience. So you get to meet such incredible people, and you get to hear such incredible stories. And just to be in the room, you get so inspired. There's no way that you can go to a summit like that and your life doesn't change. It does change. So I'd love to just encourage everybody who's in this room to actually attend the summit, to be a part of the summit, to be a part of the change. I think it's an incredible opportunity. And if you don't have funding, knock on different doors. I mean, there's some scholarships that are available. How I got my funding is I actually emailed Maria Ramos, who was the CEO at APSA at the time, numerous times. So I used different tactics until they paid attention. So there was an article that was released on me that said, almost kind of like a declaration that Maths Guru goes to Colombia, because my aim was to assist with maths in the country. I'm a maths tutor as well, outside of being a data analyst. So I am doing that. I'm continuing the work. And I shared the article with the CEO, and it moved the needle after having emailed her 3 times. So if you are not getting a response through the scholarships, through the available avenues, just try be creative with how you go about it. And you don't have to have an existing program that you have. I think if you have a desire for change, if you have a desire to make some kind of impact in the country, I definitely think you should apply. Thanks, everyone. And if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me outside to ask about it.
Thank you so much. There you have it, young people. There are opportunities. There is an opportunity to participate on the One Young World platform. Let's utilize, we'll share the information in terms of how to apply. I will also share information on the One Young World, a seat at the table social media pages, so that you get more information. Please do bet on yourself. Take that chance on yourself. You never know that it may be the one door that opens for you, and that opens you up to a whole new world of opportunities. So let's try and utilize as much as possible of opportunities that are availed to us as possible. I'm going to ask that, like I said, we're going to tweak the agenda slightly. So we're going to go around the room to give everyone an opportunity to say something, but we're only going to say one line. So someone said earlier that, we are the community, right? So if you could just make a commitment, one line of one thing that you from your space, whether it's organizationally or yourself, you're going to do something different to shift the needle on youth issues. So you just basically one line commitment of, I, Koketso, will start, maybe enabling or opening up a room, one space for one young person in all engagements that I go to, for example. Something like that, a one-liner, not a paragraph. Let's go around the room. I'll start right at the beginning of the table next to the screen there. And then let's go around just one statement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Oratile Angel Silo. I am 19 years of age and I'm fresh out of high school. So I experienced all of what you're talking at first hand. I've experienced it. And I am on a journey along with my colleagues there, my co-founders, to start an organization or
Oratile, can I please only have
Okay, sorry.
only have
Okay.
the commitment that you're making to this cause?
Okay, we're starting a nonprofit organization to help young people. That's it.
So your commitment is to start a non-profit or you are in the process of starting a non-profit organization. Okay. Next person.
Hi everyone, my name is Nomatam Sangataba. I'm from the University of Johannesburg. My commitment, I'm an author, so my commitment is to one day write a book, since I've got a chance to sort of represent that one youth member that cannot express their voice. So my commitment is to write a book about the challenges we face as the youth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I am Stiso Nyembe. I'm a BCom Economics and Economics graduate. My commitment is to build myself, build more skills, to build more skills and go out and connect more to different people and different departments. That's all. Thanks.
Hi everyone, again, Zosipi here. So I'm building a company, a startup. So I commit to build a company that is one of the highest employing companies in South Africa. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sonia Natasha Mshiba, and I intend to become an international human rights lawyer that most definitely does tackle female genital issues within the African community. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Angeza Zokofa. I'm a social media manager. Well, I will try to help the youth by helping them figure out where they would like to go, and also for the grade 9s to also try to figure out the subjects that they would like to take and the career paths that they are going to take in university.
Hi everyone, my name is Bashabenko Silamini and I am an accounting student at the University of Johannesburg. I'm committing myself to go back to my hometown, which is in KZN Mtundini, and try to bridge the gap in high schools about accounting professions that they can embark on. Thank you.
Dumelang, my name is Mujaji Muratsetla. I'm from the Teddy Bear Foundation. I'm a social worker there. It's just going to be a comment, 5 seconds. Can we, all stakeholders, organizations, can we please prioritize people living with disabilities? Can we not create another room somewhere? Can this be the room to discuss all these issues related to people living with disabilities, including I know Department of Education, thank you very much for giving Teddy Bear
Can you
access
stick to your statement? Thank you so much
Okay,
for
yes.
that.
People living with disabilities, can they be in every room? Can we speak about them? Thank you.
So do you commit to ensuring that a person with disabilities will have access to rooms that you are invited to?
I am committed.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Teko. I'm a student at Stadio and I also do crochet. My commitment is to help young women to acquire skills.
Good day, everyone. My name is Jessica Nozentlamasego. I'm an GPV advocate, operations coordinator and facilitator at Lifikala Podiso, and I'm also a UJ student. So I'm looking forward to implementing the opportunities that I got today to my organization and community. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dumelang Sanbonani. Goeiemiddag. I am Nontlantla Buitumeloa Hapinkwani. I am a lawyer from Lawyers Against Abuse, and today and moving forward, I commit to making a difference by use of the law and continuing to make a difference. Thank you.
Hi everyone. My commitment is to make sure that I continue advocating for the rights of young women and making sure that they understand what they deserve equal share in the public health facilities and public health care.
Hi everyone, mine it will be to expose young people to DSD service offerings and also expose them to opportunities around social service. Thank you.
Sanmonani, we remain committed as a department to engage with all government departments and all stakeholders to ensure that the services that we are already rendering are expanded and they reach areas where we are currently not reaching. And it is only through partnership with yourselves seated at this table that we can only do that. So our doors remain open. Please do engage with us. We will then do everything in our power to ensure that we take the process forward. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Wazim Ngube. I commit to make sure that the youth get the opportunity that I did get at Africa Tikkun, which is upskilling the youth. Yes.
Good afternoon once more. I would say my commitment will ensure to continue empowering young people and also advocating for younger people in our society.
Hi, I'm Pamela Nkosi here. I commit to helping 5 students attempt to access health, mental, financial programs, to give access to the programs, and to come back here next year and give feedback to this platform. Thank you.
Hi, colleagues. Kumbuzile from Moses Mabhida Foundation. My commitment today is that starting a project that's going to help Camel Thrift community to apply for a local school so that children, they'll be empowered, not depending on other people for survival. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gilebuhile Malete, and my commitment is to support initiatives that help with GBV and that prevent GBV.
Thank you. My name is Kogetso Ratumbu from the GBVF Response Fund. I commit to ensure that platforms of this nature continue to be championed by the GBVF Response Fund or any space that I occupy.
Sanbona, Absheni, Nda, I think. My name is Claude. I'm from Moses Mabhida Foundation. This is my first time being here, but what I can ensure
what I can promise is that I'm gonna head back out to the community of Mamelodi and then implement what you guys were talking about. Not only to just give them words, but then I think we deserve more events of youth, not only on June, but then, yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is June Mabida. I'm the CEO for Moses Mabida Foundation. Thank you for the opportunity to come this side, Koketo. Our commitment as an organization is to continue with the skills development because really it's helping the youth in terms of the frustration. So my commitment is to continue with the skills development to help them. Thanks.
Hi everyone, once again, my name is Joseph from Street Grad. Really my commitment is to provide alternative income opportunities to young people in underserved areas, really taking these gatherings into the right recipients and ensure that they become part of these conversations, especially from a policy perspective. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Yanda Choki. I am a marketing and communications officer at Corinthians Africa. In the GBV department. After today's session, I commit to working more and collaborating GBVF with mental wellness and substance abuse. That's my commitment.
Hi everyone, my name is Tedimuso Sekhona. I am studying for a Bachelor of Science in Software Development at BYU, and I commit to finding creative ways to finding job opportunities.
Hi everyone, my name is Bella Musifa. I'm in my final year doing a BCom in economics, and I commit to being a part of initiatives in driving youth upliftment through initiatives such as the skills development, as well as assisting at least 10 matriculants every year in helping them understanding what kind of courses they would like to embark on and what opportunities do they actually open up for them.
Hi everyone. I am Tembisile Mahoa, perhaps from the NYDA. Our commitment is to ensure that we represent the interests of young people in South Africa and continue to champion for skills development and accessibility. Thank you.
Sandra Harris here from Seat at the Table. I commit to advocate for more of us to pick one slice out of the pie to play your part right where you are.
Tina Mgidlana, we as Seed still commit to sending 20 delegates in Cape Town and creating global opportunities for young people. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Nyani Samajavu, and I commit to continue to advocate for the institutionalization of youth-led organizations. Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Tunisala Chauke, economic student at UJ. I commit to continue helping students, learners in high school with applications for tertiary and NSFAS, and yeah, thank you.
Hi guys, I am Ratlile Sahobe. I commit to sharing the same access and opportunities I have with others. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Matima Slepe. I always felt like people don't have opportunities, especially grade 12, when it comes to career choices. So I commit myself in helping them know the difference between career courses and professional courses. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ngobizita Kumalo, and I commit to educating and exposing young people to opportunities and helping eradicate unemployment.
Good day, everyone. My name is Buhloba Kepiri. I commit myself to helping my organization create a safe space for everyone to feel comfortable to share all their needs and all their troubles, and to help them get help in any way or justice.
Hi everyone, I am Kanyam Goto, and I commit to helping students with maths and debunking the fear that it's an undoable subject.
Hello, everyone. My name is Liko Bottoman from the Department of Basic Education, and I commit to doing more work to work with those that have got a strength in social mobilization, advocacy, and communication. Thank you.
Thank you. Can also people that are sitting a bit on the outskirts of the table also commit?
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon again. Africa, our growth, we drive. Africa, our home, we drive her growth. Lungile Blessing Mtembu here from the Great University of Johannesburg, an accounting student, honors. And I commit myself to hosting an event where I'm raising awareness regarding people who are deaf in September, because it's a Deaf Awareness Month. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Amanda Masondo, a third year law student at the University of the Witwatersrand. And my commitment as a law student is to ensure that the law doesn't remain a distant abstract document, but becomes a living tool of liberation for young people.
Hi everyone, my name is Princess McLaughlin. I am the founder and managing director of Two White Lifestyle. I commit as a GBV survivor to contribute meaningfully in the GBV initiatives, such as the one that I'm part of, namely the Women Economic Assembly Wekona initiative by the President through the Department of Women, Disabled Persons and the Presidency through my entrepreneurship success and the volunteering at Seats at the Table to encourage GB survivors to be economically independent, because that is one factor that makes them stay in toxic relationships. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kariso Skhare. I'm from the Restorative Justice Center. I commit to continue advocating for systems change in addressing GBV, and I also commit to ensuring that young people vote on the 4th of November. Thank you.
Can you also commit?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Simphiwe Mnisi from A Seat at a Table. My commitment is to remain and to have boldness and audacity so that we can go into rooms and spaces that will allow more young people to actually have access and a seat at a table. Thank you.
Thank you so much, colleagues. Do you realize what we just did there? We made promises, not to each other, but to ourselves. Because it's very easy for us to say government must do this, who must do that, but what are you doing in your space? My scuff twin, you summed it really well when you said, play your part right where you are. That is a powerful thing that we can do, because when we want to see scale and change that we keep alluding to in this table, when we combine all of these commitments and the little that we would contribute on an individual or organizational level, we will see the change that we want to see in society, because we are community, we are society. So I know that I may not see all of you all the time, or maybe some of you I'm seeing for the first and only time, but you will know that you made the commitment to yourself, and you will know that you did not do what you said you would do. So you hold yourself accountable to the commitment that you made today. I'm witness to it, but you are accountable to the commitment. So thank you so much, colleagues, for a very fruitful discussion. I think we all here are passionate about the same issues. We are all here very concerned about our futures as young people, but also the futures of young people broadly in the different spaces where we contribute. So can we continue to ensure that we make the change and play our part right where we are, but also we don't create these platforms only to be talk shops, but we go back into our communities to do the little that we can. And can we continue to hold each other and ourselves accountable? Once again, thank you to the various departments that made the time to spend half of their day with us today, a little bit more than half. Thank you so much to the partners that yielded to our call. And thank you, Tina, for initiating that conversation. And you said, let's do something. And we are here today. Let's continue. Next week, we are having a webinar with Mail and Guardian. We will be having about 6 young men that are part of the 200 list that are, I would say, pioneers of industry that are going to also share with us what they are doing in their spaces and how they will use their influence and platform to drive and advocate for positive masculinity and meaningful engagement of men, because men are missing in a lot of these conversations. And also men may also be on the receiving end of violence. How do we also ensure that those men are supported? Those sentiments came out today. So please look out for that webinar and sign up. It is completely online, so all of us will be attending online, and if you can, we'll also circulate that. We'll also share on email the presentations shared today, as well as the information promised by the various partners to ensure that you all have access to that information. I implore you again to access the opportunities shared by colleagues today, because it may only take that to turn the needle on your life. Thank you so much and have a pleasant day forward. I will now speak to logistics in terms of lunch. We are offering lunch. So I will ask that the first row first goes and dishes up and comes back into the room to have the lunch. And then the second row, then Lucas, who is somewhere, will direct us, and Nontogozo will also direct us in terms of where the lunch is. Thank you.
No, yeah.